It's gonna be loud. Yay, subscriber.
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE and welcome back to the channel that does to stupidity what Leonardo DiCaprio does to any of his relationships as soon as his woman turns 25. This is the first Monday night debates of 2020 and we have a good one today. We have a flat earther who wants to discuss the movement of the earth. Moderating the debate today will be Brainy Beaver. Say hello, Brainy Beaver.
Hello, hello, hello.
Lovely, lovely. Right, so we might as well just get straight into it. I am debating today a gentleman called Wayne. Wayne, welcome to the channel. Would you just like to take a couple of minutes to introduce yourself to the people?
Okay, my name's Wayne. Probably about a dozen years ago, I like to search on the internet. You start learning things. Well, I learned had an old Army vet tell me about our money and how it's created, and I really didn't buy what he was telling me. But after researching it, silver's our only true money. It's what we're supposed to carry around, and it's what we're supposed to use. And there's plenty of it to make money. Okay, once you learn that, though, you start going down the rabbit hole. And then during that time, I just stumbled across a video on YouTube about the motionless flat Earth, and it wasn't very well done, but it piqued my curiosity. And within a day, I was a motionless Earth believer. It's just the only thing that makes sense. And even though I still hung on to the ball for longer than I'd like to think, there wasn't much on the act then. But we were all told this. I used to believe we lived on a ball. We're taught the story at 5 years old, but there's no one that can actually name a proof that we live on a spinning ball. Any amount of research will show that they faked the NASA missions, and the motionless flat Earth is only a small part of the big picture. This goes on and on and on. Our whole history, why we never really won our revolution, or England tired of spending money on trying to whoop us. They would have lost anyway sooner or later, but to won it, we would have touring London to the ground, which still should be done. So many crimes out of that capital. So once you've opened your eyes to the truth, you're stuck with it.
Okay.
And that's probably close to my...
So we agreed that the debate today would be about discussing the motion of the Earth. I have a bunch of evidence to show that the Earth does in fact move and rotate. We agreed that we would have 10 minutes each to present our evidence. Would you like to go first, or would you like to see my evidence first?
I'll actually let you go first. I've put my evidence out there so many times, I don't have a clue what yours is. So yeah, I'd like to hear you.
Okay, cool. Brainy, will you get a 10-minute timer going?
Absolutely. Just give me 1 second. I just kept on going on my phone here. I was like, geez, you didn't ask me that in advance, so I wasn't ready for that. So give me just 1 second.
Right,
I'll bring one up. Hey, don't buy an LG phone. You didn't hear it from me, but they suck.
Yeah, this is my LG phone. It's in pieces.
My phone sucks too.
Oh my god. No, I had Samsungs, I was fine with them, and even HTC was fine with. I got this LG, and oh my god, I want to throw it out the window. It's terrifying. Anyways, timer. Here we go. Stopwatch. That's the one I want. Okay. Reset. Okay. So, do you want a one minute warning, or?
Yeah, just let me know if I get too close to 10 minutes. It probably won't even take me 10 minutes to get through the evidence, but
that's fine. If you're getting close, I'll warn you.
Yeah.
Okay. And starting now.
We'll start with a classic one. Obviously, a lot of people have seen this already, but might as well show it again.
If the Earth is spinning at one rotation every 24 hours, that means that every hour it has to turn 15 degrees. And if the gyroscope is mounted anywhere on Earth, it's going to drift. In today's 21st century navigation systems, they're using what's called a ring laser gyroscope. It is extremely precise. If we could simply get one of these ring laser gyroscopes, we would be able to prove once and for all that there is no rotation to the Earth. One of the people in the community actually purchased one for $20,000. But what we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift.
Okay, so what he's talking about there is an effect called the Sagnac effect, which is all to do with the speed of light. Inside an interferometric fiber optic gyroscope, like he was showing, the way it works is the blue box will fire a beam of light. As the light hits this mirror, half of it goes one way and half of it goes the other way. If the Earth, or whatever the gyroscope is on, is not rotating, what you'll find is when the light recombines, you won't get any kind of interference. However, if the gyroscope is on something that is physically moving, what actually happens is one of the paths the light has to travel changes in distance, meaning that the time the light takes to go around the circuit is different for each part of the light. And what that means is you will receive an interference pattern that will show as a drift. Now, the important thing about this is that an interferometric fiber optic gyroscope doesn't just pick up a rotation in one axis. It actually picks up a rotation in 3 axes, which is what you would expect to see if the Earth is a globe rotating, because you won't just have that one part of rotation, you'll have it showing in 3 axes. The other interesting thing about interferometric fiber optic gyroscopes is they also pick up the rotation of the Earth around the Sun, which is about 1 degree a day. So every single modern aircraft has 3 of these on board. One to measure pitch, one to measure yaw, one to measure roll. And literally every time they fire them up, they align themselves based on the rotation of the Earth, which is literally the function of the interferometric fiber optic gyroscope. There is nothing else that can be causing that interference pattern other than a physical movement of the actual gyroscope, because it's based on light, and light isn't affected by anything else. Normally they're inside some kind of vacuum chamber or using fiber optic cables, depending on the type of gyroscope that you have. So there is no outside influence. The only thing that this can register is physical motion of what is on. And the fact that every single fiber optic gyroscope on the planet picks up the 15 degree rotation in 3 axes and the 1 degree rotation per day around the Sun demonstrates that we are in fact rotating. Now, if we are in fact rotating, there is certain effects that we should have. One of the effects is called the Yoptvos effect. Now, the Yoptvos effect is basically a change in the perceived gravitational acceleration. If the Earth is rotating from east to west, and you are in a vehicle moving east to west, what you do is you add to the centrifugal acceleration that you are experiencing. And what that has the effect of is reducing the gravitational acceleration. Conducively, if you are traveling from west to east, you actually reduce the centrifugal acceleration and increase your gravitational acceleration. During the 1700s, Lord Baron von Yoptvos tested this on ships traveling east to west and west to east in the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and the Mediterranean Ocean, and noticed that ships traveling from west to east, actually the things they were weighing weighed slightly less. More recently, a YouTuber called Wolfie6020 repeated the experiment with modern equipment. So what he did was he's got a 500 gram weight, a calibration weight, and he had 2 flights, one going from west to east in Australia and one going from east to west in Australia. And before he got on the flights, he measured the weight to make sure it was 500 grams. And then, during the flight, he measured the weight of the things whilst he was on the plane. And what he found was exactly what you would expect to find if the Earth is rotating. When he was traveling from west to east, the weight was less than it should be. And when he was traveling from east to west, the weight was more than it should be. This is only explainable if there is a change in the perceived gravitational acceleration caused by a change in the centrifugal acceleration based on the movement that you're going. This is exactly what you should expect if the globe is rotating at 15 degrees per hour, as we say. So there is also another thing that we should expect to see if the Earth is rotating. If you took a pendulum and started to swing that pendulum, depending on your position on the globe, the pendulum will drift. If you're at the North Pole or the South Pole, the pendulum would drift at 15 degrees per hour. The closer to the equator that you move, the less and less the pendulum would drift. Now, there's a guy in this video called the Gentleman Physicist, and he set up his own pendulum in a high-rise flats, as you can see here. And over a period of, I think it was 45 minutes, he let the pendulum swing back and forward. And little ink pot in the middle, so as the pendulum is swinging backwards and forwards, what they found was that after a while, you got a obvious drift of the pendulum. The interesting thing about this is that not only does it show that there's a drift, but you can actually use that angle that is created to calculate your latitude on the globe. If the clockwise turn is there, it means you're in the northern hemisphere, as he was. And then he took the angle, 7.89, and final time of
3 minutes left.
0.68 hours, which is about 45 minutes, roughly. And based on some very simple maths, you can calculate actually what your latitude should be purely based on the angle of the drift from that pendulum. And what he did was exactly that, and figured out that his latitude was exactly what it said it should be. And this was something that is repeatable by absolutely anybody, anywhere. And it is an effect that you should see if the Earth is rotating as we say it does. There is no other explanation there is no explanation at all on a flat model for why we should see a drift in something like this, which isn't metal. That's actually, I think it's a cement block with a plastic wire. So there's like no magnetism or anything involved. There's no motors keeping it going. It was simply a swinging pendulum with the Earth moving underneath it. And the fact that they were able to calculate their latitude shows that it is the effect of the Earth rotating that caused that drift. So 3 things there that show the Earth is rotating. The Sagnac effect in fiber optic gyroscopes, the Eötvös effect that can be measured in the centrifugal acceleration and gravitational acceleration, and the drift of a pendulum that can actually calculate your latitude on the globe. And I will leave it there.
8.5 minutes.
Cool. Right, so that's my evidence that the Earth is rotating. Just whenever you want to go ahead and start your time, feel free. I've got your pictures lined up, so if you want me to show anything, just let me know.
All right. To
I'll start
off,
whenever you start.
Okay, we can start now.
Yep.
Agree, there is something spinning, and it's not the Earth. My path to proving it falls much a different way, except we kind of center on one thing. I'll get to that. You can put up my diagram showing the claimed speeds that a 400-mile-an-hour pylon racing plane would experience above and in front of an audience on the ground doing a pylon race. Remember, the plane is 400 miles an hour. And it fits the whole moving atmosphere with the Earth, fine and dandy, although this 800-mile-an-hour air has never been detected in anything. And I'm sticking to 800 miles an hour because this is the actual movement that North America, save America, is moving at approximately 800 miles an hour due east. The land is, okay, the Earth, due to Earth. And this is actual movement, not theoretically movement or anything, but this is actual claimed movement. Okay, so say the plane's heading north. Okay, you can see on the diagram, it's going miles an hour north, but it's also going 800 miles an hour east to maintain a straight line with the audience on the ground moving 800 miles an hour east. Now, the problem we have is when it turns east, and all of a sudden now, instead of going 800 miles an hour east with the audience, it's going 400 miles an hour east from the audience, which in turn is 1,200 miles in actual speed, because remember, the audience is going 8, so it's moving 800 miles past 4. Now, my whole question on this is, during that 2 to 3 second turn, if it's even that long, how does it go from 800 miles an hour due east down to 400 miles an hour due east in relation to the audience? There's no relative motion, inertial frame of reference, vectors, gravity, theoretical rebutality, anything you want to call. That 400 miles an hour change in eastward speed in 2 to 3 seconds is faster than any drag car, way faster. So I think it could be felt, but it's never felt. Any pylon racer behaves as if it's flying above a stationary on the ground that is not moving. And then all of a sudden, okay, now we make the next corner heading south, southeast turn. Okay, that 400 miles an hour east away from the audience, just 100 miles an hour in actual speed, now just becomes 800 miles an hour east to travel parallel to the 800 mile an hour audience on the ground. Again, a 400 mile change in eastward speed during that turn, which you can have your spinning air along with the spinning earth. You can have relative motion, all those things, but how do you explain the 400 mile an hour change in eastward movement of the plane in relation to the audience that's on the ground and the plane is in the air? And I've yet to have anyone be able to even discuss change in speed without just repeating relative motion or inertial reference. Just there's no way to explain it according to basic laws of physics and mathematics. It's just not explainable, because we're not talking, oh, you need a frame of reference to see the Earth move. That don't cut it, because this is actual Earth movement I'm talking about. And you don't need a frame of reference. Here's another, okay, we'll leave that 400 mile an hour on the corners there. It's for further discussion if anyone wants to. Now, another example, people always say, oh, you're moving 800 miles an hour east in America, and the air is moving with you 800 miles an hour east. Well, air has mass. So if it's moving 800 miles an hour east, why does all of a sudden it can be calm? It can blow north, south, east, west, any cardinal direction or any direction on the compass. And it can gently blow or it can be totally calm. But mass in motion tends to stay in motion according to Newton. So that's one other thing. And they say, well, you just can't feel it because you're moving at a constant speed. Okay, now the next thing, if you've ever been to a major airport, they have the moving walkways. Get on one, within a second or two, you're moving at a steady speed. You're not accelerating, you're not slowing down. But if you walk around and turn and walk backwards and move around on that walkway, you'll definitely feel that you're moving. And why do you all of a sudden feel the engine around a moving walkway, but not on land that's moving 800 miles an hour east? That's a hard one to understand. And then, that got me on another one. Okay, calm day. You're in the middle of USA. Helium balloon go up. Or no, just pick a cloud. This on dead air day. This cloud thousands above you, staying perfectly above you and not around. As you leave the Earth's surface and go higher, you have a bigger circumference. So that cloud to stay directly above you on a very calm day, it has to be going faster than the miles per hour you're on the ground. So not only is the air here spinning 800 miles an hour, as it gets higher, it travels faster and picks up speed. And again, basic laws of physics and simple mathematics. And It just doesn't make sense in any way, shape, or form. And it can't be explained by a spinning Earth with a spinning atmosphere. Now, boy, look at myself on your screen. It looks pretty funny. Then
There's 3.5 minutes left.
okay, now we can go. You can show that opposing star circles picture, and that one, the experiment can be repeated by anyone by mounting a camera 90 degrees to an axis both ways and spinning it in a room with little LED lights around, and that's a replication of the equator vertical pointed camera with time lapse showing the star circles. Well, if you do the experiment, you will only produce parallel straight lines. You won't produce a circular effect. And then the pendulum, actually, according to the claims of relative motion, which holds planes with the Earth and everything, doesn't feel movement or anything, the pendulum would actually be moving in a circular pattern with the Earth, and if the Earth were spinning, it would go back and forth in a straight line. Now, we have a spinning substance around us. It's called our celestial sphere, and it's the sun, moon, and stars, which we seen spin against us. And it's electromagnetic in nature, an electromagnetic force beyond which we can produce, which ties everything together. Everything interacts. It's not gravity. The only thing you need is density, but we won't even bring up gravity because we're talking a spinning versus the stationary Earth. And that's pretty much not all my proofs, but a good little chunk of them.
Okay.
And I'll rest at that.
We can get to more in the open discussion.
8 minutes.
Okay.
Would you like to discuss my evidence first? Or would you like me to?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to see eye to eye on it.
No.
Because
so what we'll do now is I'll give you 15 minutes to talk about the evidence that I presented in my 10 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
So just the things that I brought up, the the fiber optic gyroscope, the Oct-Voss
ring
effect,
laser,
and the pendulum. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. The ring laser gyro is for one thing, it's ran off a computer program, so it's really, I can't really trust that to begin with, and it can be programmed to read things. And even if it detects a 15-degree arc movement per hour, that's not saying the Earth moves. Remember, we have an electromagnetic sun above us that is moving at a 15-degree arc per hour, and people say, well, in the southern hemisphere on a flat Earth, but we're not talking flat Earth. Stations are spinning. So that ring laser gyroscope can be actually measuring the movement of the sun and celestial sphere above us. The 1 degree movement per day, that could be proved in. I'd have to actually give that one some more thought to answer as how that plays in. But as far as it detecting movement, detect the sun's movement at 15-degree arc per minute per hour, and it's what do you call it? A lot of scientific measurements and readings go into that, and I'm more into like, okay, show me some actual movement. You know, I should be able to feel it because, like I said before, a moving walkway, a stump plane, they all show stationary Earth because of what we experience. But this one ring laser gyroscope made by people who actually want to keep the lie alive of a spinning Earth, I can't really put all that much stock into it. And then the Oct-Voss effect, I think with a little bit of fudging, you could actually make that read any which way you want, because we also have the Cavendish experiment that's never really been conclusively proved. And I could, the little bit of study that was kind of hilarious, because here's a guy on a sailing ship dealing with water waves and everything, supposedly making intricate measurements you didn't even have the equipment to test it. significant these were rather than balance scales. And I can take a pair of balance scales anywhere on, and my ounce of gold will 1 ounce of gold. If I've heard some outlandish claims about the change in weight at equator or the northern latitudes, well, if that were real true, it'd behoove me to use balance scales or triple beams, which triple beams are quite common. Coin dealers still use them. And go buy my gold at the equator, then head north to England and sell it way more. Again, these really minute measurements, for most of mankind's history, it's been triple beams or balance beams until just recently with all the computer measuring devices. I don't know if I can spend 15 minutes rebuttaling what you put out. Now we come to the pendulum. And again, we have our sun circling above our Earth, and it's a very near sun, small and local, and it's going beyond many. We may have more than one sun. I won't go into that. There's so much you can keep researching. But our sun is circling above us between the two tropics, Capricorn and Cancer. Okay, well, whether you're in or out and where you're at on those tropics, the electromagnetic force changes. This is why we have some of our weather patterns and this and that. But that can very be what is influencing pendulum to make it spin and turns. But I'm still of the point that, hey, unless you guys give up revolution or relative motion and throw it out the window, the pendulum would swing in a straight line because it's really moving with Earth. So, unless the only thing on that is by motion, which that's kind of having your cake and eat it too, or it's affected by relative motion, just like an airplane or a car or us, anything move with the Earth, and we don't, because supposedly it's moving constant motion. It's all just moving together as if everything's stationary. I've had that thrown at me so many times when people say, well, just view it as stationary because everything's moving together. Well, if this pendulum were moving together with the Earth, it would always swing in a straight line because it's already spinning with the Earth. There'd be no, well, it's hanging motionless and still and the Earth is spinning under it, which is what they say. Well, that right there goes completely against all the claims of relative motion for everything else that is moving. And my view is the pendulum proves a motionless Earth because it does not swing back and forth in a straight line. And I guess I'll rest my case on that.
Okay. Well, we can discuss more of that in the open discussion. I'll go over the things that you brought up.
Okay.
So, if we talk about this diagram.
Yes.
So, yeah, right. The plane uses the atmosphere to fly. Okay, that's how it creates its lift,
yes,
right?
Yes,
yeah.
You create lift. And I'll even give you the spinning Earth, and I'll even give you relative motion on this one. And you've got the ball.
If you're giving me relative motion, I don't really see what the issue is. But see, now here's the thing, right? As the plane is changing direction, it's changing direction in that atmosphere that is moving with the Earth. So, right, imagine you're in a car.
I'm giving you that.
Imagine you're in a car and you're going forwards at 60 miles an hour, okay? And you're in that car, you're throwing a ball backwards and forwards. Is that ball going to feel a massive change depending on which way you throw it? So you throw it from the front of the car to the back of the car. Is that going to be different than if you throw it from the left side of the car to the right side of the car if the car is moving? No, because it is moving with the car. For the people inside the car that are moving with the car, the ball would appear to go backwards and forwards and left and right. For the people outside of the car, that ball would appear to go forward, and then within that forward motion also have some left and right and forwards and backwards, but it would still always be moving forward. If you're moving forwards at 60 miles an hour and you throw the ball backwards at 20 miles an hour, that ball is still going forwards at 40 miles an hour. But for the people in the car, it's going backwards at 20 miles an hour. So I think your problem was the fact that you said the pilot should feel the change in direction. That doesn't make sense, because the pilot is in the atmosphere with the plane, which is also moving with the Earth. So you said about having to treat it as a flat stationary plane because everything's moving together. Yes, that is the case, and that's why NASA, for instance, say that in some of their documents that they are talking about a rigid aircraft over a theoretical stationary flat plane, because as far as the aeroplane is concerned, the Earth is flat and stationary because that's what it's flying over, because it's moving with it. You shouldn't feel the change in direction any more than the inertial forces that you get from change in direction anyway. You said about being on a walkway, going forwards and then turn around and going the other way. You would feel that change as you turned around. But if you stood still and closed your eyes, no matter which way you were facing, as long as it's a perfectly steady walkway with no wobbles or anything, you wouldn't know that you were moving. You don't feel the constant motion. You feel a change in motion. You feel an acceleration. Whether that's a positive or a negative acceleration, that's what you feel. You slow down, you speed up, that's what you feel. You change direction, that's also an acceleration, and that's what you feel. You don't feel a constant motion. So there's no reason why in an airplane that's changing direction in the air, you should feel anything other than the inertial forces from that plane actually moving. It's not going to change its relative speed compared to the Earth, because the Earth is moving and the atmosphere is moving with the Earth. So if the plane is flying in the atmosphere that is moving with the Earth, then you're not going to feel a change in direction extra apart from what the plane is doing with its changes anyway. So if you are in a plane going east to west and the plane is traveling at 500 miles an hour, but the Earth is traveling at 800 miles an hour, technically the plane is traveling at 1300 miles an hour. If the plane then turns and heads north, then the plane is going north at 500 miles an hour, but it's also going east at 800 miles an hour. But that east at 800 miles an hour is the motion that it's going anyway, with the atmosphere that is moving with the Earth. So you're never going to feel that constant motion. And because the atmosphere doesn't change its direction, then you're not going to feel any effects of the Earth, because the atmosphere doesn't change, because the Earth doesn't change, because it's all a constant motion. So although your diagram kind of makes sense with the numbers, it doesn't actually matter, because the fact the atmosphere is moving with the Earth. You made the point of the fact that the atmosphere, so on my globe here, if the atmosphere is here, that has to be traveling faster than the Earth. And you're right, and that is actually what happens, because above us, you imagine a column of air going all the way up to the Kármán line. And that is, as the Earth's rotating, that column of air is rotating with the Earth. So the velocity, the linear velocity of the air at the top of that column is higher than the linear velocity at the bottom. But because the Earth has been rotating for billions of years, the basic laws of friction, basic laws of physics like friction and stuff, the atmosphere is getting dragged with the Earth. So there's no reason why that should be a problem. All the atmosphere is rotating at 15 degrees. And you're right that the higher up you go, the higher the linear velocity of the air molecules is. But it doesn't matter, because friction is dragging the atmosphere with the Earth. The same as if you put your finger, you had a ball of water and you put your finger in that ball of water and started spinning it, right? Eventually, all of the water will be spinning at the same speed as your finger. As in a rotational velocity, not a linear velocity. The water in the middle, where you're spinning your finger, will be going the same speed as your finger. But the water at the outside of the bowl will be going a lot faster than your finger if you're talking about linear velocity. The rotational velocity will always be the same, but yes, the linear velocity will be higher. Because of the friction of you making that water spin, it starts to drag the rest of the water with it to match that rotational velocity. And that's the same as what's happening with the atmosphere. It's all being dragged along, and the rotational velocity is always 15 degrees per hour no matter where you are. What else did you bring up? Sorry, I made notes. So you said about the clouds would be moving faster than us, and
From the equation.
Basically,
Hey.
yeah.
You're not allowed to get texts from NASA. That's cheating. Okay. You got to put the phone down.
That's
Those
funny.
Those secret NASA texts are cheating, man.
This is old school notebook.
Okay, so they faxed it to you. Got it.
Yeah.
just
So
kidding.
yes, again, you're right. The clouds, their linear velocity is going to be higher than the linear velocity at the ground. If the clouds are moving eastwards at 40 miles an hour at the equator, that means they're moving 40 miles an hour plus the 1,000 miles an hour linear velocity that the Earth is rotating. But the clouds are still only rotating at 15 degrees per hour. And the same way as if you're in a car that is moving at constant velocity and you can have a ball going backwards and forwards in that, the clouds can have their own movements based on the air and everything that's being moved around. But even
Could
though...
you grab my cup there, a stainless steel cup?
Yeah, and even though the
I'm listening.
air the air is moving with the
There's no
rotation
water
of the
get
Earth,
out the jug.
the fact that there is energy coming from the sun and everything, it heats up the molecules and causes weather patterns, etc. The weather patterns themselves are also rotating with the Earth. So there is no issue. And the actual, you said about simple maths and physics disprove it. I would like to see the maths and physics, because I can give you the maths and physics that say that there is no issue. Now, the next thing you said was about a celestial sphere and electromagnetism being the thing that is affecting everything. Well, if we talk about the fiber optic gyroscope, it uses light. And the thing about light is it doesn't have a charge. Light has zero charge. And if something has zero charge, then it won't be affected by electromagnetism. You only have something affected by electromagnetism if it has a positive or a negative charge. So the fact that light has a neutral charge, a charge of zero, means that it will not be affected by any kind of electromagnetism. So a fiber optic gyroscope, which is using light, could not be affected by any outside influence that is electromagnetism or any other kind of forces. The only thing that a fiber optic gyroscope can actually do is register the physical movement of what it's on. Because it's enclosed and light isn't affected by electromagnetism due to the fact that it has a neutral charge. I think that was all the things that you brought up in your evidence.
That's close enough to him.
Okay, so we can just go into discussing some points backwards and forwards now, if you like.
Sure.
You can go first. Anything that you'd like to talk about?
Okay. Let's go back to I like sticking to America and the round numbers because it is approximately 800 miles an hour due east of actual movement of the Earth, the ground. You're standing on 800 miles an hour due east.
Yeah.
And your stance is, and I let you have this, not what I agree with, that the air is also moving approximately 800 miles an hour with the land. Is that your stance?
Well, no. The higher in altitude you go, the higher the linear velocity of the air would be.
Let's just 50 feet off the ground. It's still called 800 miles an hour. Your view is the air is moving 800 miles an hour to keep up and maintain motion with the ground moving 800 miles an hour.
Yes.
Is that your premise?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you agree that once the plane is off the ground and in the air, the plane is no longer physically attached to the ground in any way, shape, or form, other than being in the air?
Yeah, the only thing that it is
Okay.
attached to is the air, which is also rotating with the
Okay,
Earth.
now this plane now is in 800-mile-an-hour air. Wind, we'll call it at this
No,
point.
no, no.
Moving at 800 miles an hour is
No, it's
wind.
not. It's
Now,
not wind. That's the issue. See, you're
it's
saying
moving
you're
air.
saying
Okay, we'll
yeah,
call it
but you're saying that it
800
would be
mile
like
an hour moving air.
you're saying it would be like a wind. It wouldn't, because if you're just standing on
call
the
it
ground,
800.
if you're just standing on the ground, that air is, the air in front of your face is also still moving that 800 miles an hour.
The plane's not touching the ground, though.
I know. I'm just using this as an example.
I know what you're saying, relative motion, because the air is moving with you. You don't feel it, but the plane's no longer on the ground. It's up there making all sorts of different turns and movements and thrust, which negates relative motion. This plane is in 800-mile-an-hour moving air. Okay, you can refuse to call it wind. We'll stick to 800-mile-per-hour moving air. The plane is in no way attached to the ground. So how does a plane behave in 800-mile-per-hour air?
Because relative to the plane,
they get grounded. They get grounded for winds of much less than that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Relative to the plane, that 800 miles isn't an hour. Isn't a wind, because you have to think about conservation of momentum. Okay, as the plane. Wait, let me explain. As the plane left the ground. Okay, so it's on the ground and it's traveling from west to east 800 miles an hour, right?
Okay.
Okay, so as it leaves the ground, it doesn't all of a sudden lose that momentum. That 800 miles an hour that the plane is traveling in a linear velocity, it still has that as it comes off the ground, because there's a thing called the conservation of momentum. It doesn't all of a sudden stop traveling the 800 miles an hour because it's left the ground. It maintains that velocity because that's the energy it has. And then as it goes into the air, it's already traveling that 800 miles an hour that the air is also traveling. So if you are traveling 800 miles an hour, the same as the wind traveling 800 miles an hour, not wind, sorry, you got me confused saying the word wind there. The air is traveling 800 miles an hour. The plane is also traveling 800 miles an hour. So relative to that plane, there is no air moving around it. Does that make sense? Because the plane maintains its velocity.
I only want to add one thing ever here, and it's just that when you spin a cup of water, you get the water to slowly match the speed of the cup rotation. That's the only. That's all I was gonna add. That's a good example. Well, but water in air still. Anyways, go ahead. That's not my. That's literally all I'll ever say.
All in air. Okay, let's get back to this 800-mile-per-hour air. Okay,
so and that's the thing. That 800 miles an hour air that is moving with the Earth, the plane is also moving that 800 miles an hour, because that's the velocity it had when it was on the ground, and it doesn't all of a sudden lose that velocity when it is in the air. It maintains its velocity because of the conservation of momentum. So as the plane takes off, it is going the 800 miles an hour that the linear velocity of the Earth and the air is going, plus whatever speed it is going. And it maintains that relative velocity to the air because it is moving in the air that is moving with it. And relative to the plane and the ground below it, the air and the ground have that 15 degrees of rotation. So you're not all of a sudden going to feel an 800 mile an hour wind because you are also going that 800 miles an hour. So there is technically no wind.
So, okay, the air is moving 800 miles an hour. Can we agree? You agree to that? Okay.
Yes.
Once the plane has left the ground, you can give it the 800 mile an hour boost too, okay? But after a while, just by things slowing down a bit, this plane is in 800 per hour air, okay? It's not touched the ground for a long time. It's made numerous turns and everything. It's in moving 800 mile an hour air, okay? Forget the Earth beneath it. We're not touched to it. Forget all this friction, relative motion, everything else. But the air, The air is the air. The plane is in the air. The plane is not attached to the ground, has not been attached to the ground, has made numerous turns in all cardinal directions.
Right.
It is not attached to the ground by any way, shape, means, or form. It is in 800-mile-per-hour air. Air that is moving 800 miles per hour. A plane is in this.
Yeah,
okay?
but again, that 800 miles an hour is the rotation. The air is moving.
No, we're talking.
And as the air is rotating, the plane is in that rotating air. So as the air is moving, it's taking the plane with it because that's what the plane uses for thrust. So, right, think of it like this: if you're in that plane, okay, what happens if you jump up in the air in that plane?
You're inside an enclosed environment. You're inside a sealed box of air. I hate it when people go, oh, what about a fly flying around your car? No, I'm talking a plane that is enveloped by 800-mile-per-hour air, okay? 800-mile-per-hour moving air. Let that sink in, okay?
But again, relative to the plane, the air isn't moving that fast because
it's not moving. Everything's stationary. I like that.
Relative to the plane, yes, because remember, the plane is using the atmosphere to give it its momentum, to give it its lift and its thrust, okay? And if that air...
I know air and thrust and lift on planes.
And if the air is already moving, and then it's taking the plane with it. So if the plane was in the air and it was just able to hover, it would still have that 800 miles an hour linear velocity. And then if you accelerated, it would be going faster than the 800 miles an hour. But you wouldn't all of a sudden be in an 800 mile an hour wind because the plane is using the atmosphere for lift and the atmosphere is moving with the earth. And if the atmosphere is the thing that is giving the plane its lift, then it will automatically move with that 800 mile an hour linear velocity. It's not going to lose that. It's not going to... What you're suggesting is that all of a sudden the plane's going to be going backwards. No, that's not going to happen.
Well, I'm not saying all of a sudden. But a plane, initial frame of reference or conservation of momentum, the plane is not going to keep moving 800 miles an hour just due to the speed at which it left the Earth. Why not?
It has weight. Wait. Let me ask you a question. If the air is the thing that the plane is using for thrust and lift, and the air is moving 800 miles an hour, why would that not also take the plane with it?
Okay. Let's pretend for a moment the plane's up there. It's got this 800 mile an hour movement with the 800 mile an hour air. That is still not barring the fact the plane is in 800 mile per hour air. Okay, it's not to the ground. Forget the ground. Pretend the Earth don't even exist.
But
the plane's up here at 800 mile an hour air.
We can't forget that the ground exists
800 mile per hour moving air.
Here's the thing, right? The ground is important.
You need it to say it's all moving together.
No, the ground is the thing that is dragging the air with it. And if the plane is in the air, if that is what physically
in the air,
if that is what physically gives the plane its lift, then it will always move at the same speed as the air. It's not going to lose that velocity because that would mean it was going backwards all of a sudden.
Ask you this. So the air is moving 8 miles per hour, due east. Okay? The air, actual movement. This is actual movement. It's actually moving 800 miles an hour due east. Okay, the plane's in this 800 mile per hour moving air. What about when air decides, say, it's going to move north at 100 miles per hour?
That's what you call wind.
All of a sudden, that plane can tell all this 100 mile an hour air that actually makes planes ground.
You ever been in turbulence?
It's in this 800 mile per hour moving air that it just doesn't detect, doesn't feel, doesn't affect its aerodynamics or anything of the sort, because this is air that is moving at 800 miles per hour.
Okay, right.
Let me show you this. The plane's not physically attached to the ground like you're standing on it.
Let me show you this video here, okay? And this is actually a bit different to a plane because then nothing's powered. They're not in an enclosed environment at all, are they?
I can't see the video.
You can't see the video?
All I see is your computer desk thing or count blue line desk thing on my screen.
Oh, okay. Well, what I'm showing a video.
You're gonna
of,
explain it.
Yeah, I'm showing a video of a truck with a trampoline on the back of it. Okay, and there's a bunch of people on the trampoline, and
Jumping up and down, and they land approximately right where they're landing.
Exactly, right, exactly where they're landing, because that is the conservation of momentum. Now,
yes, and they're only dealing with a low amount of wind.
They are moving with, if they say they're at the same point you are, and they're in that 800 miles an hour wind, sorry, I'm not using the word wind, you're getting me confused. The air that is moving.
It's 800 mile per hour air.
The air that is moving with the Earth is what is keeping them going. They maintain their velocity, they maintain their momentum as they go into the air. So there's nothing that's going to stop them. Now, the fact that they aren't powered, if that person stayed in the air, the fact that they're not powered, eventually friction would slow them down and they would fall behind. But a plane is powered.
Okay.
A plane uses combustion and thrust to keep it moving. And the basis of that all is taken in the air, and the thrust it is using is the air that is moving with the Earth. So if the plane is already in the 800 miles an hour moving air, it's not going to feel a wind because it is moving with that. It maintains its momentum. It's as simple as that. And if the wind changes when you're up there, that was this is my point of if you're in a car and you're throwing the ball backwards and forwards, you
keep going back to in a car, or like these trampoline guys, they're on a moving vehicle. They're in contact with it and momentarily leaving it. I'm talking about a plane that's been up in this 800 mile an hour air for a while, and the ground has no bearing on what the air is doing.
But the ground does have a bearing.
Forget the ground.
That's the thing that you're missing there.
Forget the ground.
No, I don't need to forget the ground because that's the point you're missing. The ground is
you need
very
it for the
important.
relative motion and everything's stationary because it's all moving together. I got it. We're talking 800 mile an hour moving air.
Yes.
Okay.
And the plane is
800 mile per hour moving
you
air.
can say 800 miles an hour all you like. It doesn't change the fact that the plane is using the 800 mile an hour moving atmosphere to give it its lift. That is what it is in. If you want to
but
say
it can't detect this 800 mile per hour.
No, of course
air.
it doesn't detect that 800 miles an hour.
Because it's moving at the same speed moving air.
Actually, the thing is, the fiber optic gyroscopes on the plane would detect the movement of the Earth. That's how they measure their yaw, pitch, and roll.
This is where it gets really humorous because you keep wanting to have the air connected to the ground below. We're not on the ground anymore. We're in the air.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
All right. Doesn't matter. And do you want to know why? Because every molecule of air is touching the molecule of air below it. And if you keep going down, those molecules of air will eventually be touching the ground.
So it's actually all touching the Earth. I got ya.
And that is the point of what I was saying earlier about friction. Okay? As the Earth is rotating, it is dragging the atmosphere with it. The atmosphere is moving.
I gave you your 800
You
mile
don't
per hour
need to give
air.
me anything. You're not understanding the physics. Right.
Oh, I understand this physics. You're not understanding aerodynamics.
Oh no, I absolutely am understanding aerodynamics.
In 800 mile per hour moving air. Why does only
that
air that moves
is
in
what
the
is
direction
moving
of the Earth?
plane? That
Okay,
air is the
listen,
thing that
for
is
1
moving
second.
the plane.
Why is the 800 mile per hour moving air the only moving air that's not detected or felt by the plane?
Because that
See
is
what I'm
the
saying?
that is the thing
it's
that
not
the
in
plane
the ground.
is. Right.
So,
okay. So right. Let me think of it. Let me say it like this. Okay.
You treat it like a tether. You're treating it like a
kind
tether.
of,
Inertial frame of reference,
right.
and no matter what,
stop
this
one
plane
sec.
is always tied at 800 miles an hour.
Let me think of it like. Let me try and explain it in a different
A
way.
tether.
For you, right. So.
Or solid mass. You can call air a solid mass too.
If I was to like blow something away from me, okay, like if I had a very small paper airplane and blew it away from me, the air that I am blowing that's making that paper airplane move is going the same speed as the airplane. as the paper airplane, because that is
And
the
the paper
thing that
airplane
is
fills
making it
your
move.
breath blowing it.
Yeah,
And
but,
a plane
wait, no,
800
stop
miles.
one sec, right? Relative to that plane that I've blown and I've thrown the paper airplane, okay? That paper airplane doesn't know that the air is moving at a different speed because it is going the same speed as the air, because that is the thing that is giving it its thrust, giving it its movement. And it's the same with the velocity, the linear velocity of the air the plane is in. The fact that the plane is in the air that is also rotating with the Earth means that the plane will automatically be already going that 800 miles an hour. It doesn't lose that velocity because the air is the thing that is keeping the plane going. You have to take into account all the forces that are happening. And the main force is the fact that there is a conservation of momentum. The atmosphere is moving with the Earth. The plane uses that moving atmosphere to give it its lift. So it's already moving the speed that the air is, and it's not going to stop doing that because that would mean it would go backwards.
This is so funny. Okay,
Yeah,
let's get
it's
to a
funny that you're
turn
not
then.
getting
Yeah, you're not getting it because 800 mile per hour air. You're saying magic keep the plane going 800 miles an hour the whole time, so the plane can never detect this because the plane started out at 800 miles per hour. It's like there's a going from there, holding the plane at 800 miles an hour, or a magic gravity wand. You're dealing with 800 mile per hour air.
And
Moving air. This air is actually
and the plane
moving
is moving
at 800
with that,
miles per hour.
The plane is always moving. Yeah, the plane is
beneath it.
The plane is always moving the same speed as the atmosphere plus whatever speed the engines give the plane. The plane will always be moving. If the air is moving 800 miles an hour and the air is the thing that is giving the plane lift, the plane will automatically go the same speed as the air. That's the point. It's not going to stop that velocity because the fact that the air is rotating with the atmosphere is the thing that is giving the plane its initial 800 miles an hour velocity, plus whatever velocity the engines give it as well. There is no change. There is no, it's always going to be in that atmosphere that is moving. And to lose that velocity would mean that it is having a force applied in the opposite direction, and it's not, because the plane is moving with the atmosphere and everything else. Same as if I throw this up in the air right now and catch it. Where I am, it's about 360 miles an hour linear speed. But where's that music? It's loud.
Hey, turn that music down low.
Yeah, thanks. Right. As I throw this
Well,
into
and then
the air,
actually one thing you can do is if you can even mute yourself when you're not talking, it helps, but you don't have to, as long as they keep it down.
Yeah, this laptop's so hard to move the arrow, I'd end up keeping myself muted for quite a while.
It was being fine, so that's why I wasn't bugging you.
yeah. As I throw this ball into the air, the air is moving with the rest of the Earth. So where I am, it's about 360 miles an hour a linear speed. So right now, even when I'm holding this, it is still moving at 360 miles an hour due east, right? If I throw it in the air, it's still moving 360 miles an hour due east because it's in the air and the air is the thing that's moving. And if it's part of the whole thing that's moving, the Earth is rotating, the atmosphere is rotating with the Earth, it will automatically take that plane with it. There's no reason why it will stop moving with the atmosphere. It's not going to be in an 800 mile an hour wind because the fact that the air is moving 800 miles an hour is what's giving the plane lift. That 800 miles an hour moving air is moving the plane at 800 miles an hour plus then whatever velocity the engines of the plane give it. It's never going to stop doing that. That's very basic physics.
Basic physics is 800 mile an hour air would be detectable.
No, but not if the plane is also
not if you're moving the
Let me ask you a question. All right, 800 miles an hour relative to what?
actual movement. It doesn't need to be relative to anything.
No,
We're talking
it does.
actual movement.
Movement
No, we're
is
talking
relative. Movement is
800
relative.
mile per hour air, actual
Yeah.
movement.
Yeah, relative to what?
Movement.
Relative to what?
Not radical movement, but actual
No,
movement.
I'm not talking
Just
about...
be relative to anything. See,
I'm not
you
talking
think
about...
you need
yeah,
a frame of reference
movement
to tell
is
something
relative.
moving when I'm
Movement-
talking about
yeah.
actual movement. I'm
Yes,
talking
but
about
movement
actual
is relative.
movement.
Movement is
You know,
relative. That's the point.
Frame,
Movement
no,
is
actual
relative.
movement.
No, yeah,
Actual movement.
Actual movement is relative.
Actual movement.
Yes, an
You think
actual
you need
movement
a
is
frame of
relative.
reference to tell we have
we can't just.
actual
We gotta move
movement.
forward here.
Yeah. Again,
I don't know how to break this up.
We still have to even discuss the amount of change in the corners and this. How can you possibly tell me that just because air is moving in the same direction as ground beneath
Okay, here I got. Can
800
I
mile
try
per
one
hour
thing?
moving
Fight.
air.
right, go on,
Or-
Brainy.
Let me try. Let me just try one thing, just because sometimes it helps just to throw another person in here for a second. Okay, so I am going to use the car, and you're going to hate me for a second, but just bear with me. So if you do throw a ball in the air while you're traveling in the car, that ball is traveling the same speed. So your relative speed to it. All he's trying to get is everything has to have a relative speed. Like if you got like let's use a better one. You got two fighter jets that are fueling in the air. Now, they need to match the speed of that airplane. Now, who cares what speed the atmosphere is going and stuff like that? In order to fuel up, they need to match the speed of that airplane. Now, what is their speed when they hook up relative to that airplane? Their speed relative to that airplane better be almost nothing, or else they're going to have an accident. Now, that's why relative speed matters, because they don't give a shit how fast the air is going. They just really care about how fast am I going compared to... Yeah. Well, but hold on. The airspeed does matter, but what really matters is that I'm going the same speed as that tether in front of me that I need to attach to. Yeah, but that's what he's saying about that's a frame of reference. So the frame of reference is now my speed compared to that tether's speed. And that's all he's saying, is that if I don't have something to compare it to, so if you're just flying through the sky and you're not near that airplane, you and you're not close to it, you can't tell that you're going 1 meter an hour faster than it or a meter a second faster than it, because you don't really have anything to compare it to. But as soon as you get close to it, you're comparing yourself to this other item. Well, that becomes a frame of reference. Who cares how fast the air around me is going? How fast am I going? Like if you were trying to flip the bird off to somebody in the traffic, you have to get up to the same speed as him, look out the window, match his speed and go, hey, buddy, fuck you. And to do that, you need to basically match the same speed as him so you can line your windows up. Well, your relative speed to him is 0. Your speed to the area around you is whatever speed you guys happen to go. And let's face it, you're probably not looking at the speedometer, because it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you line up your two windows so you can flip him the bird. And that's relative speed right there. So anyways, I'm out again. So I just wanted to try to break that down a little bit, maybe.
My entire point is that speed is relative. That's how you determine speed, because speed and movement is always relative to something else. Could you get that person turned down the TV?
Yeah, we're hearing the TV again, bud.
Dustin, can you guys get them to talk?
Oh, that's them talking. Sorry, it sounded like a TV. Sorry, bud.
Yeah,
that's probably what it was.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So, we're trying not to be rude. You know how it goes.
So.
Oh no. They know I've got a call I wanted to make, and they're fine with it.
The thing about movement and speed is that it is relative. There isn't actual movement. There is no actual movement, because all speed is relative to something else. That's literally what speed is. It's how fast something is moving compared to something else. Does that make sense?
So basically what you're boiling down to wanting to say, because I've heard this a million times, is because the speed, they can consider them station and not together.
You cut out a little bit there. Would you mind repeating that?
You're boiling it down to, because the Earth, basically they cancel each other out in its relative motion, so they're acting stationary.
That is the point, and that's why when you design an aircraft, you kind of design it based on a stationary reference frame, because you're within the reference frame. Everything is moving at the same speed. Now, the atmosphere is moving at 800 miles an hour, and the fact that is what gives the plane its lift means that it will automatically take the plane at that speed. It's not going to fall behind it, because that's literally not how it works. If you were to, say, leave the atmosphere and there was still some kind of friction in space, then you would fall behind the rotation of the Earth. But there isn't friction in space. You would maintain your conservation of momentum. That's kind of how space.
So basically, what you're saying is the 800-mile-an-hour moving air over the 800-mile moving Earth pretty much cancels itself out to where it can't be detected, felt, or anything of the sort.
Well, yeah,
as if it's stationary.
Well,
you boil down to having to say stationary.
Imagine
the only way my diagram.
Right. Imagine if say there's 80-mile-an-hour winds outside, right? And you can run at 80 miles an hour at the same speed. Are you going to feel that 80 miles an hour wind, or is it relative to you? Is it going to feel like there is no wind?
I ran in fast wind on the coast when we've had
windstorms.
There's a big difference when you're running with the wind or against the wind. But I'm on the ground, see? All your points come on the ground. The plane is in the air.
And
once
the air
it's
is
left
attached
the
to the
ground.
That's the thing.
You keep going back to the ground. The plane is not attached to the ground, though.
But the air is.
The
plane is the plane attached to the air?
Is not attached to the ground in any way, shape, or form.
Answer me this question. Is the plane attached to the air?
Is the plane in the air?
No. Is the plane attached to the air?
It's in the air.
No, just listen for it.
Okay, yeah, attached to the air.
All right.
Attached to the air.
And is the air attached to the ground?
Yeah, you can call that.
Therefore, by transient properties, the plane is also attached to the ground.
Oh, I see. So the air is kind of treated, the moving air with the Earth is kind of treated like it's stationary.
No, it's treated as a reference frame.
This is insane. I don't understand what part of 800 mile per hour moving air you're not understanding, because
I'm understanding it
it's not
perfectly.
physically attached to the ground except by air molecules from its underside going down to the earth.
You just said except by, and that's the point. And that's why we need to use other things to actually detect the motion. And that I'll go back to an interferometric fiber optic gyroscope, which
it detects movement, but it don't prove Earth spin.
Well, what's it detecting?
It does not prove Earth spin. You can't take that leap. It detects something
what is it
moving.
Detecting then?
We have a celestial sphere that rotates once a day. The sun's every 24 hours. The moon's like 24 hours and 15 minutes or something like that.
How would a interferometric fiber optic gyroscope detect the movement of the sky? Sorry?
Light has mass. Light has mass.
Does it have a charge?
It has.
Does it have a charge?
It's neutral charge, if I remember right, but it has mass. Do you agree to that? Light has mass. Light has mass.
But that's not the point. Does light have a charge? No, it's neutral. And that means that it would not be affected by electromagnetism. Regardless of if it has mass or not, that's not important. The only things that are affected by an electromagnetic field are things that have a charge. And if light doesn't have a charge...
Speaking of an electromagnetic field beyond which we can produce, it pervades all things, all substances.
And
okay,
and we can get to that as well, right? If you want to talk about the electromagnetism, right? What's this, mate? What's this? Can you see what I'm holding up?
No, just seeing your desk thing again.
I'm holding a plastic plectrum, right? That's made of plastic, okay? And in my other hand, I've got a steel capo. Would they be affected the same way by electromagnetism?
Not from what we can produce, no.
So you're saying the stronger the electromagnetic field, the more it would affect everything the same?
It's a different kind of electromagnetic field.
What kind of electromagnetic field?
It's not what we can produce. No one knows what it is. No one knows what the sun is. No one knows how far away the sun is or the moon.
But
science is just guessing at 93 million miles away. That's ludicrous.
It's really not. There's a thing called spectroscopy, but that's another discussion.
Light, but that's another thing.
No, let's stick to my point about electromagnetism, because regardless of the strength of the electromagnetic field, if you use Coulomb's law, you can calculate the electromagnetic attraction or repulsion that you should have based on the material. And as
Yes.
different materials have different arrangements of electrons, means that they will be affected in different ways by an electromagnetic field. And that's not what we experience. And there is no strength of an electromagnetic field that can slow down or speed up light. That's literally not how light works. I mean, there's the Zeeman effect, but that's more to do with the spectral lines of atoms, but that's different. So light itself cannot be affected by a standing electromagnetic field, based on the fact that light doesn't have a charge. So it cannot be picking up any kind of electromagnetic signal. So what else could that be detecting?
I see you're talking of an electromagnetic force we can produce. I'm sorry.
Regardless of what
I'm
we can
talking
produce, unless you're talking about something that isn't electromagnetism. If you're saying that there is something...
It's a type of electromagnetism.
And
it's a type.
Any type of electromagnetism has charges, right? Any type of electromagnetism will affect something that has a charge. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter how strong it is. It's the fact that light doesn't have a charge means it won't be affected by electromagnetic field. More importantly... Sorry, go on.
I want to say photons. Okay, I'm wrong, but I'll have to do a little more research on this. I don't think you're going. I didn't realize you're going to center on this ring laser gyroscope, which it doesn't carry weight when all the points are being stationary, and it can't outweigh the fact that no plane, once it's left the ground, can detect this mile an hour moving air. The thing you were left with saying is that because it and the Earth are moving together, it's treated as being stationary. That's my point. Everything is stationary.
Well, it has to be.
This ring laser gyroscope cannot overrule the fact this 800-mile-an-hour air cannot be felt by any plane.
Because
any plane.
Because the plane, again, you keep forgetting the fact that the plane is using the air to move. That is the thing that is keeping it up there.
Okay, let's come back to one thing you've ignored speaking of.
I do need to go back to one other thing.
On my diagram,
because you said that light has mass, and
that's on my diagram, go to my diagram. On my diagram, the plane's heading towards the audience at a speed of 400 miles per hour when it's making its eastward run. Okay? Now, when it turns north, all its thrust is into the turn north. How does all of a sudden that plane go from 800 miles an hour apparent speed at the audience in a 2 to 3 second turn to 800 miles an hour due east, matching what the audience is? That's 400 miles per hour increase in due east speed in relation to the audience on the ground.
No, you're wrong.
800 mile an hour air.
You're very wrong there. You're very, very, very wrong there. Remember, the audience...
Not wrong at all, buddy.
Listen, the audience is moving at 800 miles an hour, right?
Ah.
Okay? Yeah. The air is moving at 800 miles an hour, right?
I gave you that.
Yeah. Therefore, there is no change. Right. If the plane is going due north, it is still traveling east at 800 miles an hour. It doesn't stop that relative eastward motion.
When it's traveling... Oh, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I didn't have my diagram from me. When it's traveling west towards the audience at 400 miles per hour speed in relation to the audience. It's coming at the audience at 400 miles an hour. You with me? Now, all of a sudden, it turns to go north. So now, it's moving with the audience at 800 miles an hour due east. How does it pick up that 400 mile an hour due east movement in 2 to 3 second turn?
It doesn't. Okay.
That's faster than any train.
Wait. Right. Let me explain where stop. Let me explain where your issue is. Okay. If the plane is moving towards the audience at 400 miles an hour, It is.
Yeah.
That means that it is still. So if it's traveling towards the audience in the opposite direction of the rotation of Earth at 400 miles an hour,
Yeah.
that means it's still going.
It's actually going due east 400 miles an hour. Then according to
it's still
moving air.
traveling. It's still traveling due east at 400 miles an hour, except it's going west at 400 miles. Sorry. So no, it's going east at. Right, let me start again. It's going east at 800 miles
It's
an
going
hour.
west at 400 miles an hour
Wait,
towards the audience.
Yeah, but okay. So it's going west at 800 miles an hour because that's the speed of the rotation of the Earth, right?
No, it's going 400 miles an hour towards the road.
Okay, yeah, we'll
minus
get
400
to
off
that.
the 800 miles.
Yeah. Okay,
Minus
so
400 off the 800 miles per hour.
which means that it's
drifting
still
backwards.
traveling due east at 400 miles an hour. But relative to the audience, it's coming towards them at 400 miles an hour. It still is within that atmosphere that is moving at 800 miles an hour.
It's only 400 miles per hour in the 800 miles per hour because it's going against it.
Meaning that it still has a relative direction of eastwards of 400 miles an hour because it's the 800 miles an hour minus the 400 miles an hour. Now, if it all of a sudden, changes and go due north, at 400 miles an hour.
All its force and thrust is into the northward turn.
But
so
it's
how
still,
does it
whilst
increase
it's doing that, it's still
eastward speed by 400 miles per hour in a 2 to 3 second turn. You're dodging this big time.
It doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't.
No,
but it is.
It doesn't because again.
So it's still going 400 miles an hour.
Let me explain.
Towards the audience.
We almost need to move past this at some point because I think we're stuck on it.
Let me explain. Okay. It is.
Well, he won't.
It is always
deal with this turn.
It always has that relative motion towards the east. Okay. If it was going faster than 800 miles an hour, then it would be going relative, like, I don't know, 20 miles an hour, whatever. But that 400 miles an hour.
You cannot explain the 400 mile per hour change in eastward speed in relation to the audience. You can't.
Yeah, you can, because it is still moving with the Earth at 800 miles an hour to the east. Okay, then its thrust is making it.
No, it was going 400 miles an hour east until it made the turn. Yeah, you're ignoring that.
No, I'm not. If you let me explain
you are.
And stop interrupting, I'll actually get to the point. Okay, it is moving with the atmosphere 800 miles an hour due east, but it is going due west at 400 miles an hour, meaning it's still moving east relative, with the Earth at 400 miles an hour. Now,
at 400 miles an hour. Okay, keep that in mind.
Right, stop, don't talk. Okay. If it then changes its direction, it still maintains its relative motion with the Earth. The atmosphere is still going at 800 miles an hour due east. Okay. Now
So how does the atmosphere speed it up by 400 miles per hour in the one turn?
Dude, you need to let me explain and stop interrupting, okay? The atmosphere and the audience are moving at 800 miles an hour due east with the Earth.
I gave you that.
Right, okay? The plane is moving 400 miles an hour due west, meaning it is still going 400 miles an hour due east. Now, if it then changes its direction, it is still going that 800 miles an hour with the rotation of the Earth. Everything is relative to the position of the audience in this case. The audience is seeing it change direction. I mean, no planes go 400 miles an hour like that. But as you... The motion will always be towards the due east with the rotation of the Earth. No matter which way you're going. You're not adding velocity and taking velocity away, because that is your reference frame. You have to consider like you said, you have to consider it stationary because it's all moving together. And if it's moving together, you have to... No, it's not, though, because we have evidence that it's not moving. We have evidence that it is moving. And I presented you the evidence that it is moving, which you kind of ignored by going, I don't trust computers. That's called personal incredulity and doesn't really matter. The fact is that...
Well, you're having a whole lot of that against my diagram showing the claims.
No, I've explained it. It's not my fault that you don't understand.
You explain it now.
I can take a deer to water, but I can't force it to drink.
Okay, now, you agree that when it's heading west towards the audience, it's actually going 400 miles an hour due east?
Yes.
To maintain a... Okay, now, its thrust and vector, turn, everything is now centered on going 400 miles an hour north. Okay, how does it lose
It
or
doesn't.
gain 400 miles per hour east to maintain a steady line with the audience? You
Because it's
cannot
no
explain
longer-
the 400 mile an hour change.
Right,
It
okay,
went from
wait.
400 miles an hour
Yeah, of
east
course it
to
did.
800
Wait,
in a
wait.
in a
Stop.
2
Let
to
me-
3 second turn.
If you
But,
are
no, you don't feel it.
traveling,
It ain't there.
if you are traveling with the Earth, then the direction that you change will also be traveling with the Earth. What aren't you getting about this?
But how do
If-
you increase its eastward speed by 400 miles an hour in the space of a 2 to 3 second turn? You
Because
just
it's no longer
agreed
going
that
east.
it was. You just agreed it was heading east at 400
Yes.
miles an hour. It makes a 2 to 3 second turn heading north, and now it's going east at 800 miles an hour. How does it increase that 400 miles per hour in a 2 to 3 second turn?
Because
Relative
it's-
motion, you say.
Because
The
it's
air.
not.
We're
because,
talking
right, stop,
an increase in
stop,
eastward speed in relation to
Dude,
the audience on the
I'm
ground,
gonna have to mute
and you're
you if you
not
don't
even
stop
wanting
talking.
to address that.
I'm going to have to mute you if you don't stop talking when I'm trying to explain something, okay? So, if this something is
Your
moving
explanation is
400...
nonsense, buddy.
Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's nonsense. If you are going
Oh,
400
I understand it
miles...
full well.
Stop talking. If you're going 400 miles an hour due east, and then you change direction and you go due north, you're no longer going 400 miles an hour due east. So even if the Earth is stationary, you are losing that 400 miles an hour due east movement. Do you see? Your point doesn't actually make sense because the plane is still traveling
Oh, yeah, it does.
with the atmosphere.
On a stationary Earth, it does.
Yeah, all right, so...
On a stationary Earth, it works just fine. And like you
and
said,
it works
you have to
absolutely
view it
fine
as
on
stationary
it works
because they're
absolutely
moving
fine on the
together.
globe. Right, it works absolutely fine on the globe.
No, it don't.
It does. Right, if
You
were-
can't explain
listen,
that
listen,
400 miles
listen.
per hour.
You can't. If you are,
You
going
don't even
for-
know what you're saying at this point.
I do. If you're going 400 miles an hour due east and you change direction and
Yeah.
go due north, you've lost that 400 miles
You're
an hour
now
due
doing
east.
800 miles an hour due.
Right.
How do you get that 400 miles per hour added in a 2 to 3 second?
You don't, because you're still moving with the atmosphere.
You don't because it's stationary.
The atmosphere is moving with the Earth, the reference frame.
Yeah, and you keep going that so that since you don't have a frame of reference, we just treat it as stationary and
That's the
everything's
whole point.
fine. Well, that's the whole point. It is stationary.
But it's not.
You're
because
just
I've got
proving it
evidence
is
that it is.
stationary.
Except I've
No,
shown
you
evidence
don't
that it's
have
not.
evidence.
I do, because
Planes land on north-south runways, which they can't make
and
the turn
a
to land.
north-south runway is
They're
also traveling with the rotation of the Earth. Everything is traveling
it's
with the
all
rotation of the
relative.
Earth. Everything,
It's all relative.
all of the time, is traveling with the
So
rotation of the
everything
Earth.
is
So
affected by relative motion.
Because motion
I'd like
is
you to answer
relative.
that.
Motion is relative.
Everything is affected by relative motion, you're saying.
You're adding the word affected in there that doesn't need to be. Motion is relative.
All motion is relative.
Yes, absolutely,
Okay,
100%.
we're not getting anywhere on this.
Said.
You're not wanting to address the 400 mile an hour change. You
I
refuse to
absolutely
discuss
did.
that.
I mean,
and I'm used to that.
like you said.
Totally used to it. Don't feel bad.
No,
you can't discuss it.
I have discussed it and I have addressed it.
Oh,
If
you
are,
discussed it in a whimsical.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in and say one
oh
thing
my
here.
God, what aren't you?
We
getting?
can start. We can start. Listen. We can start. Fight has actually been pretty good about not being. I know he jumps in and says like, "Hey, stop talking," but that's because there's a bit of. I'm sitting here and watching the de-evolution occur. So let's try not to get into like, because I mean, all you're doing right now. I can't remember your name, sir, but anyway, all you're doing at this point is you're kind of just saying, well, you're getting stuck on the 400, and that's fine that you guys aren't agreeing on that. I do think we need to move past.
You agree he's stuck on it too?
Oh, I'm not stuck. I
We're
understand
both stuck
it.
on it, but
Oh
the
yeah,
problem
you're
is,
stuck, buddy. You can't discuss it. So let's
you're not
put
even
something
letting.
else.
But this is what I'm talking
William,
about.
I
This is
have
what I was about to
discussed
say.
it.
You're not even letting me finish. So what I'm trying to say here is that is that we're just getting into a situation where you're stuck on that, and so you won't let him finish his entire sentences, and then of course, let's face it, he's not going to start agreeing with you because, I mean, we think you're wrong. So you know, whether or not you are or not, I'm not getting into that. That's not my fight right now. But all I'm getting at is we might have to, because things are starting to devolve, and like, you know, the whole thing of like laughing, I was just going to end on this, is the whole thing of like, and I've done it to people too. Let's say that's the point where the de-evolution starts to occur, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to do a one-up and a win by just being like, ha ha ha, this is so funny to me. But reality is that it doesn't, like there's 500 people. Well, let me finish. There's 500 people in here that are not stupid people. So whether or not they think you're winning or not is not going to rely on you laughing at the situation. So why don't we just try to keep moving forward with the conversation and just keep it. Well, no, but
you
this is
say
for both
me
people.
being that way.
This
What about
both.
him being whimsical?
I'm not being whimsical.
Okay,
I am trying
so
to give you
let's get
answers,
back to
but you
relative
don't
motion.
shut
I
the
love
fuck
this.
up.
So yeah, let's move back. Anyway,
Let's
so just
get back to
remember
relative
that-
motion.
Yeah, and
let's just move forward. Yeah, for sure.
remember, it's very
So,
important. It's a very important thing, Wayne, that all motion is relative. All motion is relative.
Okay, you're
There is
stating that as a
there
fact.
is no absolute reference frame. There is no
So
absolute
everything-
reference frame. All motion
So-
is relative.
Let me get this straight then. You're saying all motion is relative to the spinning Earth because it's all relative motion. Everything's spinning with the
All
Earth.
motion is relative, yes.
Okay, then let's talk to pendulum, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got to be spinning with the Earth,
And
so
it
it would
is.
swing in a straight line if the Earth
Why
is
would it?
spinning. Because
Why would it?
let me finish. The pendulum theory or hypothesis, I should call it hypothesis, because it's all hypothesis that the small Earth has, not theory, not fact, not proof, not science experiments that can be repeatable as the rising horizon, but we'll leave that for a flat Earth discussion.
No, I'm not letting you. I'm not letting you just get away with that. The horizon does not rise to eye level.
Oh yeah, it does. Oh yeah, it does.
I can absolutely
we can
disprove
go
that
into that
right.
forever. I've
I
conducted
can absolutely
experiments,
disprove that right now. I can
high
absolutely.
altitude balloons,
Dude,
high
dude,
altitude
dude,
balloons.
stop
prove
talking,
a
stop
rising
talking,
horizon.
stop talking,
Let's
stop.
drop the
Shut
rising
up.
horizon.
Shut the fuck up and listen for 1 second. If the horizon rises to eye level, why is the moon below eye level in this picture?
And that's not fake. That was
MC
taken
Toon
by-
took this.
We know who took that.
Michael Toon,
That's
the other
due
guy.
to
you
our
talking to.
horizon. I can't see the picture, but I know what you're talking about. That's due to our horizon perspective.
But the horizon hasn't risen to eye level like you just stated.
In fact, it's
Oh,
below.
the horizon is so near eye level, it's not even funny in high altitude weather balloons. So near eye level.
I'm not talking.
So near.
I'm not talking about high altitude
Hundreds of them.
where you need a reference.
Okay, but he's not
Okay?
as high as a weather balloon, so why would it get? Anyway, sorry, my
Right.
fight. I gotta get the hell out.
In
Sorry.
this picture, I am showing you the moon is below eye level. Horizon has not risen to eye level. How is the moon below eye level if the horizon rises to eye level? That's impossible.
Well, you can actually see that there's a whole lot of haze, and if you put a proper filter on the camera, you can see the true horizon. But that's another thing. Now, the reason the moon appears below eye level.
You're not addressing my point. The moon is below the eye level. How is that possible?
According to that.
What do you mean according to that? This literally shows you what eye level is, and the moon is below eye level. Let me show you a much better one. Okay, so this has been added with perspective lines to show the point. Eye level, the horizon is below it. More points. The perspective points show where the eye level is. Horizon is below the eye level. Another one. Perspective point showing what eye level is, horizon is below the eye level. It is absolutely 100% false that the horizon rises with the with altitude. It is literally just the most false thing that a flat earther has ever said.
Well, the amusing thing I find about all videos is, do you see the atmospheric haze in them? You're not even seeing the true horizon in those.
Oh, right. So you
pick a clear shot on a clear day. Anyone can go to a cliff, line up a level, line of sight, and the ocean horizon is right there at the level's height.
Give me one
But
sec.
this is another issue. Let's get back to the relative motion.
No, I'm not letting you get away with this.
Well, I can't draw them up right now, but many high altitude balloons show the horizon near eye level.
And do they have any references? When you're saying it's eye level, what are you basing that on? You need a reference for eye level, right? And would you agree that water is level?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's horizontal. Because I don't want you throwing that dictionary definition on level.
Water isn't horizontal.
We're gonna use the word horizontal.
Water isn't horizontal. That's completely wrong because horizontal and level don't mean the same thing. But if you agree that water is level, like you just said, then that means that this is what the eye level is. Where's the horizon? Below the eye level.
You can't see it.
You can.
The atmospheric haze is stopping it.
You can literally see.
Do you not see the atmospheric haze?
Yeah, but you can still see where the
Do you
horizon
not see
is.
the atmospheric haze hiding the true horizon?
And so what are you basing the fact that horizon rises to eye level if you can say you never see the horizon? That's a pretty clear shot. This one
one you can definitely see the camera's lower than if the camera's not lined up level with the sight.
It absolutely is, because the thing about water is that it will be level, like you said, meaning that...
But you also have to have the camera lined up perfect with it.
Wait, let me get my point out, okay? The camera is lined up with that, and the way that you can tell the camera is lined up with that is because those two water levels are exactly the same. If the camera wasn't
I'll
lined
do that
up...
experiment.
If the camera wasn't lined up, those water levels would not be the same.
Well, to tell you the truth, on a ball, that horizon should be a lot lower than what it is right there.
Can I see the math to back that up, please?
Yeah, no.
I'd have to work on drawing it out. You'd have to learn a birth curve from a level line of sight, which so many of you don't want to learn. Okay, we're not getting anywhere on this flat horizon because I could bring up
because you're very wrong.
Video evidence too. No, not at all.
Absolutely. I've just shown you 5 examples of you being very, very wrong.
And each one includes atmospheric haze.
Dude, you can stick your fingers in your ears and go la 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 all you want, but the evidence is right in front of you.
Now that's humorous. They all have atmospheric haze. You're not seeing the true horizon. That's the problem I've seen with all these.
I mean, if you have videos that you want to present or something, if you have videos that come to mind, I'm sure you can show them.
Any claim made about evidence can be dismissed about evidence, so I'm just going to dismiss your claim about the horizon rising to eye level and say that you were wrong.
Okay. Like I said, I didn't even want to discuss it. I'd like to get back to everything's in motion with the Earth.
Right, okay. Now, let's get back to what
the relative motion.
Let's get back to what an interferometric fiber optic gyroscope registers, because as I've explained to you, light does not have a charge, and you are actually wrong. Light doesn't have mass. I don't know where you got that from.
That's a new one to me.
I mean, literally within the definition of it. Light is composed of photons. So if photon has mass, the answer is definitely no. The photon is a massless particle. According to the theory, it has energy and momentum, but no mass. And this is confirmed by experiment.
According to theories.
This is confirmed by experiment. Listen to fucking words. To within strict limits. Even before it was known that light is composed of photons, it was known that light carries momentum and will exert pressure on a surface. This is not evidence that it has mass, since momentum can exist without mass. All experiments show that light does not have mass. I don't know where you got that from, but light literally has no mass. It has no charge. It simply has energy and momentum.
I'll look into that a little more. Okay, let's get back to the relative motion thing, because I find this too hilarious.
Yeah, and that's why I want to go to the interferometric fiber optic gyroscope, because
how do you know that's not programmed to show the 15-degree arc per movement per latitude? How do you know that's not programmed in there?
Because planes would crash.
No, they won't.
Yeah, they would, because if
planes flew long before the ring laser gyroscope.
And before the ring laser gyroscope, long before the ring laser gyroscope, they had normal gyroscopes which had pendulous vanes, which kept them pointed in the direction of gravity.
And no
I just want to add that airplanes have crashed because duct tape has been left over a sensor. All you have to do is leave duct tape over a static sensor, and an airplane can literally crash.
Yeah.
I mean, it does not take a lot of sensors to be
it's
out.
very
If you
important.
Turn off those things.
It's literally one of the most important things about gyroscopes on airplanes, that they're not, that they are only measuring physical movement. And again, you saying that it could be programmed to say that is just your personal incredulity, and I'm going to ignore it. I would like you to address the actual fact that every single fiber optic gyroscope in the world, every single one, picks up a 15-degree rotation in 3 axes and a rotation around the sun at 1 degree a day. Why does it do that? Remember, it can't be electromagnetism because light has no charge or mass.
You say it's photons. The sun puts out photons, and the sun is circling above us. There's your 15 degrees per hour movement.
Yeah, but the fiber optic gyroscope
You can't win this one. Something is spinning.
Yeah,
Huh?
but the fiber optic gyroscope.
So the photons from the sun can't affect it when they're spinning?
No, because photons don't have charge, do they?
But you just say
It has
not
energy.
making too much sense on that.
No, all right. Answer me this very simple question.
I feel a photon could affect another photon, but maybe that's not been proved yet.
Does light have a charge? No. Therefore,
I'll take your word for it that it don't.
Cannot be affected by electromagnetism. So knowing that basic fact, it's not my word. This is the facts of the universe. Light doesn't have a charge and light doesn't have mass. Based on those facts, what is the fiber optic gyroscope picking up?
I believe it's the moving sun above us.
But it can't, because it can't pick up anything apart from physical movement, because it's not affected by anything else. Also, the fiber optic gyroscope
that we know of.
The fiber optic gyroscope is
that we know of.
The fiber optic gyroscope
it can't be affected by anything else that we know of.
Stop talking over me. The fiber optic gyroscope is enclosed. It is not open to the sun, so it cannot see the sun to detect its movement. The photons from the sun
doesn't need to see it.
The photons from the sun cannot go through the casing of the fiber optic gyroscope. It is enclosed within its own system. Ring lasers are actually within a vacuum. Fiber optic gyroscopes use fiber optic cables, but it's the same principle. That it cannot see what is outside of its own housing. It simply can't. It cannot be affected by anything else. Photons cannot magically
that we know of.
You keep saying that we know of.
That we know of.
You keep saying that but
science don't know everything about lasers. They don't know everything about light. They don't know
science
photons. They don't know everything about how the sun interacts. They don't know everything about how every atom in the universe is connected to every other atom in the universe. This is hypothesis that it proves the Earth spins. Complete hypothesis.
It's not a hypothesis. It is a physical detection of movement.
That is claimed.
Let me.
That is claimed.
Okay, I've got another good photo.
It's a claim. That's all it is.
Wait, give me 1 sec. I'm going to prove to you that it's not a claim. I need to go to my channel and get a video, actually.
And can you prove these don't have a program set into them? And the first ring laser gyroscope.
No. Sorry, stop. Burden of proof is on you for that. So if you can prove they have, then we'll talk. Otherwise, I'm going to ignore that comment.
Okay, the original ring laser gyroscopes that they had, I don't know if they were actually lasers. I think they used lights and mirrors. Stationary, they didn't detect no change, but they had to be spun to detect change, which gave them the idea to build the ring laser gyroscope. Now,
are you talking about mixing? What are you talking about, mixing Morley?
Oh, there's ones other than that have done the same thing, and Morley was moving.
No, Mix and Morley didn't.
They proved the aether is spinning, but not the Earth. There's another one.
Wrong. Very wrong.
I can't remember the other one. But we're not going to come to any more agreement on the ring laser gyroscope
I'm going to show you something that will actually help demonstrate my point. If you just give me 1 second to get it up. This is a video that I did on Nathan Oakley. Or was it on Bob? No, it was on Bob, actually. Yeah. Okay, so...
Yeah.
Today we're going to look at a flat earther that... Morley and Airy. Right, okay, let me just get that so everyone can hear it. So,
Oh, on a side note, if I close my eyes on a moving walk around, I can definitely feel the push and pull of being moved
yeah, because
on a
it's
moving
not,
walkway.
because
You
there's little
closing
bump-
your eyes don't make it.
there's little bumps and stuff. That's why.
It's a constant speed, though.
Yeah.
Why,
but
when you turn left on it
you
or
can't
turn it
feel-
backwards, you feel
you
a
can't
push
feel-
and pull on your body.
You can't feel constant
Yes, you
motion.
can feel it.
I mean, you can ignore basic physics all you like, but that's your problem, not mine.
I've never felt motionless in a moving car or moving plane or
Yeah,
anything of the
because
sort.
they're not perfectly.
I'm moving along with it.
They're not perfectly going in a straight line. That's the thing. There is turbulence. There's bumps in the road. God, where's the bit that I need? No, that's the classroom. All right, here we go. So, he uses on drones, and he sticks it on a globe. Okay, here we go. Right, just listen to this for 1 second. You just made the movement of something on a sphere. You do realise that, right? Well, here's Wolfie6020 to explain. He had a gyro that he uses on drones, and he sticks it on a globe to see what movement you would expect.
So just to help you visualize that on a globe, when we put the gyroscope in North America in a level attitude, as it would be level sitting on a desk, you can see that it is not polar aligned. And if I rotate that globe, we're going to register movement in all three axes. There you can see the drone is rolling, pitching and yawing simultaneously. As I rotate the globe. So just to emphasize the point, the motion that is being registered is roll, pitch and yaw simultaneously. Have a look at the indication of the movement of that drone.
So, as Bob nicely explained, the gyro is measuring the pattern of movement you would expect on a globe. So yeah, as that showed, a fibre optic gyroscope measures physical movement. That was literally a fibre optic gyroscope that is on high-end drones, stuck onto a globe and moved in the same direction as the globe would be. And it showed the same movement that you would get from a normal fibre optic gyroscope, showing conclusively, you literally can't argue the fact that that fibre optic gyroscope was picking up the movement of that globe, right?
It was picking up its movement. You're moving the gyroscope.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, it's going to detect movement.
He wasn't moving the gyroscope.
That don't transfer to proving the Earth's spin.
He wasn't moving the gyroscope. He was moving the globe. Okay?
But that was moving the gyroscope.
Yeah, and if the gyroscope is moving with the globe, it's going to pick up motion. This is equivalent to a fibre optic gyroscope just sitting on the floor on Earth, right? And as the fibre optic gyroscope... Oh, shit, I've just gone... where has it gone? As the fibre optic gyroscope moves...
To register movement in...
I'll just turn this... Yep. As the fibre optic gyroscope physically moves with the rotation of that globe, it registers the yaw, pitch and roll. The movement in three axes, as I was saying, okay? So there is three axes.
Oh, I
of
totally
movement.
understand when it's moving it doing that.
So this is
And that's
showing
how planes
you,
use it too.
yeah, and that is showing you that the fibre optic gyroscope is actually picking up the movement of that globe and nothing else. So you see that, right? There's, it is picking up the physical movement because that is what a fibre optic gyroscope registers, actual physical movement. And as you can see, as the globe moves backwards and forwards, so does the indications of what is happening. And this is, as I explained with the Sagnac effect, within that fibre optic gyroscope, as the thing is moving backwards and forwards, it's changing the distance the light has to travel, meaning you pick up an interference pattern. And that's the reason why it can only measure physical movement. Nothing else. It can't pick up an electromagnetic signal because light isn't affected by electromagnetism. It is literally the only thing that it can be registering is physical movement, as demonstrated excellently by Wolfie6020 with his own personal drone. And this isn't like some kind of science trick. Anyone can get the fiber optic gyroscope out of a drone and do the same thing to see that you get the movement that correlates to what is happening on that globe. And
so at rest, without being moved, you're saying the gyroscope detects 15 degrees arc movement per hour.
Yes. Now I can actually demonstrate.
Okay.
That. Give me 1 second.
I agree that it can do that.
Give me 1 second, and I will just actually get Bob to prove that to you. This is a flat earther.
Okay. So when you mount it on the aircraft, and say my front of my hand is the
Front of the plane.
front of the plane. All right. And you can see this thing right here, which what it is an attitude or an artificial horizon. That's what it's called.
And Bob is right. They do use them on planes for the artificial horizon because they are extremely accurate. Like really, really accurate.
Okay, and down here you have the very, very fine roll, pitch, and yaw. And you can see they're all moving, right? It's just sitting here, but they're all moving.
Yep, they're all moving as a gyroscope. As that is what's on his desk there. That is the $20,000 gyroscope that they got. And he was showing Nathan Thompson how when it's just sitting there, it still picks up a 15-degree movement of yaw, pitch, and roll, so in 3 axes, right? So again, what is the explanation for the fact that it is picking up that movement?
My belief, to tell you the truth, is that they're designed from the factory to show 15 degrees arc movement per hour.
Can you please give me some evidence of that?
I can't give you evidence, but you can't give me evidence they don't.
Yeah,
that is so precise of measurements to have those come out.
I absolutely
can
to
have a match without any spin.
You do realize that
It
I
would
showed
change
you,
depending where you are.
You do realize that I showed you evidence of the fact that it is movement by showing you it being moved on the globe, right? I showed you that it is not there just automatically picking that up because it only picked it up, the extreme movement, when he moved the globe left and right, and rotated it left and right. But if it's just sitting there on its own, it will pick up a 15 degree per hour drift and a 1 degree per day drift around the sun. If you're saying it's programmed to do that,
could very easily be programmed in. Really, latitude, longitude program, and have it do that.
That's something for you. That's
real easy to do.
That's something for you to prove that all makers of all interferometric fiber optic gyroscopes in the world are trying to fool everybody by automatically having them pick up a 15 degree per hour drift, meaning that all aircraft that have them will have to constantly correct for the 15 degree per hour drift that the gyroscope is automatically putting on. Because if the pilots didn't correct for that, that would mean that they would crash into mountains.
And I would like to add one thing to that just before, and then just continue onwards. I'm just going to add this little tidbit to any of the, and this is directed mostly at the gentleman here. To anybody that thinks that you can program something and then hide that programming from people, just ask Apple, ask any company that's tried to hide programming that slows your phone down or does something nefarious in the background, how that worked out for them when some whiz kid plugged that thing in and figured out how to crack it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, coding, there's no way that you can produce coding that cannot be unlocked. So to say that all of these devices are floating around the world, our telescopes are telling us things that don't exist and all that stuff, it's all been programmed, and that somebody hasn't yet plugged that in and gone, look, here's the programming where it tells the display to show this image. I mean, that would be figured out by some whiz kid in a freaking afternoon. I mean, Apple has had that happen to them where they were like, we're not slowing your phones down. The kid was like, fuck you, you're not. It's right here in the code. And then they're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we were slowing the phones down, and they've had to backtrack because no code is 100% protectable. You can get into
And here's another thing. FE Core, the Flat Earth group that are trying to sue me, they actually had built a mechanical gyro. And that mechanical gyro also picked up drift. So does Wolfie's mechanical gyro. You can use mechanical gyro compasses to find true north. Mechanical, no programming or anything, yet they still align to true north. So no, there's no trickery, there's no programming, because mechanical gyros that are pretty much frictionless also show the same as a fiber optic or ring laser gyro.
Something's, and it's not the Earth.
You got any evidence of that?
So your evidence really don't hold water compared to planes
It really
in
does.
800-mile-an-hour air. No, don't.
You not understanding relative motion.
It's an electronic
isn't proof for
device.
anything. Mechanical gyros aren't
What's that?
electronic. Mechanical gyros aren't electronic.
I'll have to study in the gyroscopes more, but
Yeah, if you study
actually
gyroscopes
prove a
more,
motionless Earth.
no, they don't
Yeah,
because they drift.
Well, we can do another interview just on gyroscopes, and I'll research them a bit. But let's get back to relative motion. I like that one.
Well, you don't get relative motion, so
Oh, I'm giving it to you. You're saying all things are affected by, or all things are in relative motion with the Earth because the Earth's spinning.
I'm saying that there is no absolute reference frame.
So everything's in relative motion then.
All motion is relative. You're wording it wrong.
Okay, all motion is relative.
Yes.
Okay, and what are we relativing it to? The spinning Earth? Which is fine by me too, for this, what we're going to talk about.
If the Earth is rotating, then our speed is relative to the rotating Earth.
Okay, and all things are affected by this rotating Earth as far as relative motion. Or all things remain in relative motion with the spinning Earth.
Yes, due to the conservation of momentum.
Okay, so a pendulum ball then, now correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole premise of the pendulum thing is that the pendulum is staying in a straight line swinging and the Earth is spinning under it.
Correct.
Okay, why is the pendulum ball the only thing on Earth not having relative motion with the Earth?
It is in...
How can it...
pendulums maintain
now, remember,
their
the
position.
Earth is spinning beneath it, and the pendulum is keeping swinging in a straight line.
Stop talking.
This
let me
is
answer
humorous.
the question. Okay.
This one's funny.
A pendulum maintains its position relative to, say, the distant stars, because when it is swinging, it is in it's in its free movement within 3D space. Okay. So the wire, right? Let's say this is the wire that it's attached to.
Oh my God!
Okay, the fact that it is swinging means that the Earth moves underneath it. It isn't powered.
So it's not having relative motion with the Earth.
Yes, it absolutely is, which is why you detect a drift.
No.
Yes.
You're saying the Earth spins under this straight swinging pendulum.
Yes.
Now this is humorous. So the pendulum's the only object on Earth
Can you
not having relative
do me a
motion with the
favor
Earth.
and stop using the fallacy of what's it called?
Relative motion?
No, you're using. The
I like that.
You're using the fallacy of induced humor. You're
What?
laughing because you don't understand what's going on.
Oh, of course I
was telling
am.
him to
You're
stop
contradicting your own self.
But I'm not.
You are
Well, okay, hold on.
contradicting your own self.
Every time that pendulum moves with the planet, its relative motion drops, and every time it moves the other direction, its relative motion goes up.
Oh, but
It's
a
not that
plane's
complicated.
relative motion
because
don't
it's-
drop. A
Anyways,
plane up
moving
in
on.
moving air's relative motion don't drop, huh? This is getting more humorous by the minute. You guys are kind of
It's getting more and more
stumbling
humorous
over
that you
yourselves
don't
on the
understand
pendulum,
basic
which I knew what you
physics.
would. So the
I'm
plane
trying to
doesn't
get
move any 800-mile-an-hour speed in 800-mile-an-hour air, yet the pendulum loses relative motion to the Earth because it's swinging.
No, it maintains its relative.
This is
motion.
funny.
Not
This is so
underpowered.
humorous. You guys even know what you're saying.
Yeah,
oh,
I don't-
now
I don't
the
think you
pendulum's
understand
not
what
under
you're saying.
power. Okay.
I don't think you understand what you're actually
I'm-
saying.
The pendulum
I'm gonna
is the
say-
only object
what I'm
on
gonna
Earth.
say again, Wayne. There's 600 people here that again are not stupid. I mean, you can try to do the incredulity.
Oh, yeah.
I can't say words today, but the thing is, what I'm trying to get at is that
Incredulous, I think,
they're
is
not
the
gonna
word.
suddenly. Yeah, I was fucking it up. Whatever. The bottom line is they're not going to like suddenly be like, that Wayne guy, he was sure pulled out a win because you laughed at fight. I mean, it doesn't make you right. So if people are either going,
No,
what I'm saying is whether you're right or wrong, people are going to make up their mind regardless of you laughing. So really, it actually just kind of makes you look like a worse
things
competitor.
I'm going to laugh. That's part of my character and who I am. I'm not going to try
I mean,
for any
well,
interview or anything.
Okay, well, I mean, you're not really appreciating what I'm
Brainy,
saying.
stop one sec. Your laughing, Wayne, is your own uncomfortableness with your own lack of intelligence.
Oh, not at all.
Absolutely,
Not
100%.
at all.
It's
My
because you're a
laughing is
stupid
due to
fucker.
you're
You
stumbling
don't
over
understand.
yourself. You're
Right.
stumbling
It's
over
kind of
yourself
terrible.
because you
Let
say
me-
all motion is relative to the Earth, But then you say, but. No, the pendulum isn't.
I was saying
It loses relative motion.
Here we go. Here we go.
It
I said it very
loses
politically
relative
correct.
motion.
Yeah, I'm not politically correct. He's just being a dumb fuck. Right.
Oh, I'm not politically correct. We can go into other things if you really want to get
I'm
this
a Canadian.
lively.
I'm supposed to. If I'm an asshole, I'm required to say sorry afterwards.
Right. Here we go. This is how a pendulum works. Okay. The swing, as you can see, just make sure that's looping, so it keeps playing. As you can see, the rotation underneath the pendulum is what you are having. The pendulum maintains its relative position in 3D space when it is swinging, because that is the nature of things in physics. Okay? It is not traveling in the air. It is swinging, allowing the Earth to rotate underneath it.
Underneath it.
Yes.
So the pendulum's the only thing on Earth not having relative motion with the Earth.
No, you're literally
That's
seeing the
amusing.
relative. You're literally seeing the relative motion explained in front of you.
No, you're saying the Earth spins under the pendulum. How can that be if the pendulum had relative motion to the Earth? Oh, because it's swinging. But what about a plane flying in air? It doesn't lose this relative motion to the Earth? This 800-mile-an-hour wind it's flying in? So you're one your cake and eat it. Because now
Nope.
you say, oh, no. The pendulum's
Okay.
the only thing.
Right.
The Earth
Right,
spins under
stop.
the pendulum.
Just listen.
The
okay?
Earth
Just
spins under the pendulum.
Stop and listen. I can set
Do
the
you even know
pendulum.
what you're saying?
I can set the pendulum swinging north-south, and the Earth's rotation still won't affect the plane it moves in. That's because the Earth can't twist underneath the setup. It's always headed in the same direction.
And so is the pendulum with the Earth according to relative motion.
Yeah, and that's why you have a drift.
So
That's literally
it
the
would
reason why you
continue
have a
to
drift.
swing in a circle with the Earth, and it would make a straight line.
Thank you. You've just admitted that the Earth
You
rotates.
can't have your cake and eat it too.
Dude, you've just
You cannot
admit-
have your
Dude,
cake and eat it
dude,
too.
You've just admitted that the Earth rotates.
That's funny.
You literally just admitted that the Earth rotates.
According to relative motion theory, no,
Yeah,
it does not
there
rotate.
there is no theory, but you literally just admitted that the Earth
It's
rotates.
hypothesis, actually.
Dude, like,
No, I didn't.
yeah, you did. You literally.
I did not.
You literally just admitted that the Earth rotates.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did. You absolutely just admitted that the Earth rotates. Thank you. I think the
I was,
discussion's over.
I was having fun with the fact you're saying the Earth's under the pendulum.
Yeah,
That's so amusing to
literally-
me.
You're literally admitting that the Earth rotates.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
You're saying the Earth is a pendulum. How's that me admitting the Earth spins? You're not making sense now.
Yeah, you
Check your
with
cognitive
what you
dissonance
just said.
at the door.
That's funny, Mr. Duncan
Serious.
Kruger over there.
I used to believe in the ball too.
Yeah, but you're still not addressing the fact that we can detect rotation. This is how we can detect rotation.
Not with the pendulum. The pendulum proves a motionless Earth,
No, it doesn't.
according to relative motion.
Then why is it drifting?
If we had relative motion, the
Shut
pendulum
up,
would
shut
swing
up,
in a
and
straight
let-
line
and
back
answer-
and forth.
No, it wouldn't. That's not how physics works.
Oh, yeah, it would. So the pendulum's the only thing on Earth that doesn't have relative motion with the Earth. You see what you're saying here?
Right. Pendulum relies on
The Earth
Coriolis.
spins
What
under
what's
the
actually
pendulum,
happening-
you're saying.
Listen. Right.
What's actually happening is, yeah. You're
The
just
pendulum
talking.
relies on Coriolis. In 800 mile an hour latitude, when it starts, it has 800 miles an
Oh,
hour. as it's-
Coriolis.
Right, shut up when I am fucking talking. You are one of the rudest people that I've spoken to, all right? Now listen.
I'm also
Just
called an
shut-
asshole many times.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You pretty much are an asshole. Now just listen.
imagine.
Right. The pendulum relies on Coriolis. In 800 mile an hour latitude, when it starts, it has 800 miles an hour. As it swings south, the Earth has a slightly higher linear speed. As it swings north, the Earth has a slightly slower linear speed. Under the weight the whole time, the weight keeps its 800 miles an hour. Even if it's only different, so a tiny bit, it will still cause a drift because of the rotation of the Earth. Thank
But
you,
it's
Sean.
rotating with the Earth, so there should be no drift.
Except the
According
fact
to
that it's
Ralph-
swinging allows the Earth to rotate underneath it. Basic physics,
But
dude.
so it has no relative motion then.
Yeah, it does. That's why you're getting the drift. Fuck me, you're dense.
The drift is because the row spins under it, see? You don't even know what you're saying at this point.
You keep admitting
A
that the
plane
Earth
is in
rotates.
air, according to you.
According
you're
to
saying
physics.
a plane in the air keeps its 800 mile an hour speed relative to the Earth. Okay?
Because
but now
the,
a pendulum
the plane
doesn't
is
keep
traveling
spinning with the Earth. The Earth
atmosphere.
spins under it.
The whole
The Earth spins under
listen,
it.
The whole
This
apparatus.
is too funny.
The whole entire apparatus is rotating with the Earth. The entire thing is rotating with the Earth.
So it would go in a straight line.
Shut up! I'm talking.
It would go in a straight line then.
Dude, seriously, when I'm talking, you need to shut the fuck up and listen. All right? You need education badly. So just listen. when
Oh,
I'm
I have
talking,
plenty
right?
of education, buddy.
No, you really don't. Anyway, so the entire apparatus of the pendulum is swinging with the Earth. It's rotating with the Earth, sorry. Okay? And within that
which would
rotation,
produce a straight line.
will you shut the fuck up? Please. Right? The entire apparatus is rotating with the Earth. Within that rotation, it is swinging. What do you not get?
If it were swinging, if it were rotating with the Earth, then it would swing in a straight line.
Can you show
Why
me the
would
math?
it not?
Right, okay. I want you to show me the math right now to back up that assertion.
It's simple.
Show me it
If
then.
the ball,
No. I
Listen.
don't. No, stop. I don't want an explanation. I want you to show me the math to back up that assertion.
I'm basing this
Wayne,
on
all you're doing is
counter
saying
point
things.
that
Wayne,
you made.
Wayne, show me the
Yeah.
math to back
Oh
up
no,
that
I'm
assertion.
not.
Wayne, show
No,
me the math.
I'm not.
Wayne, show me the math to back up that assertion, or I'm going to ignore it.
I don't have to show any math to back
Yes, you
up
do.
an
Absolutely.
assertion.
You
My
absolutely
assertion
100
is based off
stop.
relative motion claims.
Unless you're going to show me the math to back up the assumption that you just made, I'm going to ignore it. Can you please show me the math to back up that assertion?
Yeah, relative motion math.
No.
Stationary, straight line.
Just saying relative
Straight
motion
line.
isn't showing me the math. Please show me the
But
math
you're
to
telling
back
me-
up that assertion. Can you do that? Can you show me the math to back up the assertion of what you're saying?
I prefer physical, real evidence that you can do instead of,
Yeah,
let me
and-
make up some math that hopefully fits this. Now,
So what you're saying is you can't show me the math to back up that assertion, right? Is that what you're saying?
I don't need to show you the math to back up
You,
that
you
assertion.
absolutely do. You need to back up your assertion
Oh,
with
no,
some evidence.
not
would
at
you
all,
not
because
have to
according
back
to
up
relative
assertions?
motion, according to relative motion,
Show me
the pendulum would keep
Wayne,
moving
stop,
with
stop.
the Earth
Wayne,
and make
stop,
a straight
stop.
line.
Unless
It's
you can-
simple physics.
Okay, well,
Very
show me,
simple,
show,
basic
show me the,
physics.
show me the math to back up that basic
Aren't you
physics
arguing
you're talking
against
about.
relative motion?
Yes, I'm showing him the fallacy of his relative motion claims if you can't understand that.
Right, again.
Well, no, because it was
right,
dumb. Sorry,
right.
continue.
Wayne, you have just said, right? You have just said it's very basic physics, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now show me the maths to back up the assumption that it's very basic physics. Otherwise, I'm going to invoke Hitchens' razor. Do you know what Hitchens' razor is?
Do you know what the first rule in physics is, basically? First statement in physics. It has to do with the mechanical world.
Right.
That's what basic physics is, the
Sure,
mechanical
the Fight
world.
Club
Maths is how you describe all that. So again, Wayne, can you show me the maths to back up the assertion of what you're saying? Yes or no?
No, I can't show you
Well,
the math.
in that case, I'm going to invoke Hitchens' razor, which says claims presented without evidence can be dismissed without evidence, and I'm going to ignore your idiotic ramblings.
Okay, I'll ignore your idiotic ramblings
Oh, no,
about
I've got
800
evidence.
power error
I've
not
got
being
evidence.
detectable.
I've shown all the
what
evidence.
do you have of 800 mile an hour error not being detectable?
The
None.
fact that it is
Zilch,
moving with the
nada. You don't have zilch to show 800 mile an hour error. No
the fact that
plane
it's
can
rotating
fly
with the
in
Earth.
800 mile an hour air.
According to
And
the
then you
plane,
wanna
the
have
air
your
isn't going
cake.
800 miles an hour. Wayne?
What?
And-
It's stationary. I forgot you said it's stationary.
Wayne,
because
right.
everything's moving. It's
Wayne,
stationary.
let's go over what's happened here, okay? I have presented evidence after evidence.
What evidence?
After evidence that the Earth is rotating.
I've presented evidence after
You
evidence
haven't
the Earth
presented
is not
evidence.
rotating.
All you did was presented a diagram with some scribblings
Showing
on that
the
looked like a
ludicrous
spider.
claims of science.
This looks like a spider has got drunk, got in some ink, and just run over the page. Okay? That is not evidence. That is you not understanding things. I have given you evidence that the Earth is rotating. I showed that the Earth is rotating by explaining the Yacht-Voss effect. I showed the Earth is rotating by showing you the pendulum drifting and able to calculate your latitude based purely on the drift. I showed you the Earth is rotating by explaining the functions of fibre optic gyroscopes, and having prominent flat earther Bob Nadell explain to you that his fibre optic gyroscope picked up a 15 degree per hour drift. Should we just remind ourselves again of what Bob said?
If that we were picking up a drift, community actually purchased one for $20,000. But what we would be able to prove once and for all, get one of these ring laser gyroscopes, we would be able to prove once and for all that there is no rotation to the Earth. It's extremely precise. If we could simply get one of these ring laser gyroscopes, we would be able to prove once and for all that there is no rotation to the Earth.
Just once more.
Precise. If we could simply get one of these ring laser gyroscopes, we would be able to prove once and for all that there is no rotation to the Earth.
And then what did he say?
That we were picking up a drift. A 15 degree per hour drift.
There we go. Right. So that is a flat earther.
That's a
That's a flat earther.
That's a flat
earther admitting.
How do you even know that's a flat earther and not a globetard pretending to be a flat earther?
Trust me, Bob Nadell.
Bob,
How do you know that?
From Globebusters?
How did you Bob not Nadell know from Globebusters. Fuck me.
That's Bob.
So many of these ones that get lots of media coverage and have money thrown at them.
Well, guess what? He's got an army of you people following him. So he's one of the people that everybody you listen to bases their stuff off of.
Not even
I think
we're in independent forums. We don't listen to no one. We listen to fact.
That's the other thing. You can't agree on
ignore
everything.
all of the facts that I've said. Right. Now, I think the conversation has reached its limit of you not understanding things. I do have a few simple questions.
It's reached its limit of understanding.
Yeah,
and you having two rules for relative.
You don't understand relative motion. We get it. You don't need to keep explaining. But I do have a
couple
I
understand it.
It's clear you don't. But let's move on to a few questions that I have for you. I call these the flat Earth litmus test questions. Okay. So I've got a number. That number is 10 to the negative 17. Is that number a positive or a negative number?
I mean, I won't lie.
I'll guess and say it's a negative number.
Brilliant. Okay. I have a triangle of sides 1, 1, and 1. What are the internal angles?
This one's my favorite.
I think 120. Or no, I'm just doing this off the top of my head.
Here's the funny thing, right? You're claiming to know more about physics than me, and you don't even know the internal angles of an equilateral triangle.
I'll actually be blunt. The first time I did that, I think I said 122, and then when I saw the answer, I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." At least I understood it afterwards. That's the difference. And
well, if I wanted to know it, you tab.
Oh, I've forgotten the other litmus. Team, what's the other litmus test? I can't remember the other question. It doesn't matter because honestly, Wayne, you've come here and not shown any evidence. Claimed that fiber optic gyroscopes
I can look up
are
the answer to that. I've never thought of. I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah,
so what's the point on that?
It's just the point is that you think you can debunk all of physics when you don't even know what the internal.
No, I never said that.
That's what you're doing right now.
I never said once I can debunk all physics.
You don't even know what the internal angles of an equilateral triangle are, or what 10 to the negative 17 is.
I can find out in a few minutes online.
Dependent versus independent. Independent versus dependent.
A few online. I think. A few minutes online. You're not got some mystical, magical secret. I can find that out in a few minutes online if I wanted to.
Here's the thing. You think that
what's your point?
My point is that you think that you are smart enough to debunk all of science around the fact that we're on a globe, yet you don't know something as basic as the internal angles of a equilateral triangle. Oh yeah, here's the other one. What is 5 divided by 0?
Okay. What now?
What's 5 divided by 0?
I would say 0.
Fuck me.
Yeah, that
Just
one's
off the
bad.
top of my head. But maybe not.
Oh my
5
God.
divided by 0 would actually be infinity in a way.
3 for 3.
That's better.
Brilliant. You've
I can
actually
look up
you've
in
come
a
off as
few
one of the
minutes,
dumbest
so-
flat earthers that we've had on the show yet. Well done.
That's funny.
Tell you what, Wayne, you can have.
Well, you have your little relative
have.
motion cake concerning planes in 800 mile an
Yeah,
hour
cool.
air.
Hey,
but the
Wayne, you
pendulum's
don't
not
understand
affected by
relative motion. We
you are
get it.
too humorous in.
Wayne, we understand that
you
don't
have
understand
cognitive
relative motion.
dissonance, and you can't even discuss the 4 change in the diagram.
I already
that's
did.
Wait,
showing the
do you have
claims of
a
science.
bell for ding
No,
ding?
you
Like
didn't.
fight.
I know, Wayne, look.
No, you did not.
Wayne, we understand.
This has been humorous as all
Wayne,
get out.
Wayne, we understand. You don't get it. You don't understand relative motion. We all know that. All 600 people watching know that. So, how about you just take a minute to have any final thoughts to spill the rest of your brains out? Go on.
Well, anyone who believes that a plane can go up and be in air that's moving 800 miles an hour is pretty much loony bins and doesn't have a single clue about anything about aerodynamics. Nothing. 0. Nada.
And you think you have a clue about
800 mile an
and you
hour
don't know
air
the internal
don't
angles
push
of
a
a
pla-
equilateral triangle. or
800
what 5
mile
divided
an
by
hour
0
air
is.
does not push a plane at 800 miles an hour, and the plane
Assertion.
cannot detect it.
You got any maths to back that up?
Air. Moving air, buddy.
No. I asked for maths.
Moving
to back up
air.
what you've just
Moving
said.
air.
Yeah, maths to back that up.
800 mile
please.
an hour air? Show me how something can fly in 800 mile an hour air.
If it's moving with the 800 miles an hour air, then
Oh, if
no
it's
problem.
moving with the 800 mile an hour, blah, 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 blah. Pretty funny, buddy. Hey, it was fun, guys.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you guys are getting ready to spar off. I thought I'd get some fight music in there. You know. Okay,
Thank
fight
you,
some
thank you,
Mortal
Wayne,
Kombat.
for entertaining us tonight with your incredible amounts of dumb fuckery. I'm going to say that this is your official nomination for Dumb Fuck of the Year 2020.
Well, I'd have to say that you just gave me a standard cognitive dissonance performance, and
You
it
don't
was
even know
enjoyable.
what cognitive dissonance means, Wayne.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's when your world view gets challenged, and in a nutshell, your mind shut down.
Except my mind doesn't
And
shut down.
that's-
I explained it to you. You refuse to listen. The thing is,
You explained
I
it in the
can- I
most
can explain-
nonsensical way that a child
Wayne,
could pick
Wayne,
you apart.
I can explain things all day long, but I cannot make you
You
understand
should
them.
explain a plane flying in
sorry.
800 mile an hour air, buddy.
I already have.
And you couldn't even talk about the change in speed at the corner. You
Oh, I
went
did.
off on a tangent and you never once answered. No, you didn't.
I absolutely.
You never
covered
once
that.
addressed the 400 mile per hour change
So
in
you
eastward
also
speed
have
during the
listening
space of a
comprehension.
2 to 3 second turn
So what you're saying
in
is-
relation to the audience.
Wayne,
No, you
Wayne,
did not.
what you're also saying is
Replay it
that
all
you-
you want,
Wayne,
buddy. You did
What
not
you're also
even
saying
address
is that you
that
don't know how
once.
to listen, right? So not only are you
Oh, I
stupid as
listen
fuck,
well.
you don't know how to open your ears and listen. Honestly, how do
Hey.
you? All right, Team Skeptic said something in one of his videos today that I need to ask you. How do you eat your cereal in the morning without poking yourself in the eye with a spoon?
Well, I can aim a spoon at my mouth very well to eat.
How do you not swallow your tongue
now-
at night?
And
No, he
on a
does the
scale
thing
of
where the
1
plane
to
flies
10,
into the hatch to make it get in there, opening up. Sorry.
Now, on a scale of 1 to
Sorry, I
10,
had to.
with 10 being the dumbest globetard I've ever met, and 1 being the smartest, I put you. I'll give you a.
Yeah, I've just muted him so we can't hear what he's saying. Never mind. Right, you're muted, Wayne, so you can say what you like, but you've lost conclusively. And I'm going to read out the super chats now. We had a new member, Robert Gassman. Thank you very much. Guys, if you would like to welcome Robert Gassman using the lovely custom emojis that we have, thank you very much. Better charge for $2. Flerf ran away like a little girl. What a surprise. He did turn up after he figured out how to tech. Better charge for $2. I think this guy might have had a bit too much moonshine. Yes. Manic Mike for $2 with no message. Thank you very much. Only Sheeple Can't See for $5 New Zealand with a haha sticker. $5 New Zealand from Better Charge. Nathan Thompson, damn bitch, don't you have anything better to do? Oh wait, that's right, you have a job. Guys, in the mods there, why don't you just initiate the Vicky treatment for Nathan Thompson? That would be lovely. Mr. Victory for $2.99 really just the same for Ufology. Johan Roderick for $1.99 The ring laser is what I call my, then nothing else. Rampant for 1,000 claps. Did he just say we have more than one son? Well, I know, I let that slide. Oh my god. John Rapp, $5 Good day, Oz, Craig, Brainy, everyone I like in the chat, everyone I don't like, and the derpity derps. Thanks, Moonshine, this is interesting. Everyone give John Rapp the appropriate welcome. Rocket Scientist for $5 Nathan Thompson. Seriously, you were the sperm that won? I know, right? Can you imagine if one of the others had got there? Lee Williams for £5. Background music, Brainy, flex those moderator muscles, dude. Oh, just while we're talking about Nathan Thompson, actually, he suggested that I get him on the show to answer questions from the audience, but I don't feel like just giving him a soapbox. So I said he can come on and debate me and then answer questions, but he didn't want to do that. He just wants a soapbox, which I refused to give him.
That's all Nathan usually wants.
Yeah, mostly. Lee Williams for £5. Background music, Brainy, flex those muscles, dude. Johan Roderick, $1.99 FTFE, you made yourself too small behind that desk. I know, the thing is, right, this virtual studio, although I like it, it's let me get, like, if you do the full zoom out, like, there's too much space. So I'm gonna get a better studio created with, like, less dead space. But yeah, I get your point, absolutely. B-Ball for life, $5, sorry. How can the sun illuminate the entire surface of the moon during a full moon, but not the surface of the earth beneath it? Magic. Area 85 restorations for $5. Is there a crazier conspiracy than denying the earth is a sphere in your opinion? I can't think of one personally. No, flat earthers are the dumbest fucks I've ever met. Stephen York for $7.99 Convection from the sun heating the ground can produce pressure difference and therefore air movement due to buoyancy. Rocket Scientist for $5 Wayne, are you always so stupid, or is today a special occasion? John Rapp for $5 On the ground, you, Earth, and the air are still relative to each other. 800 miles an hour is only relative to a stationary point in space. For fuck's sake, it's not hard.
60 degrees on an equilateral triangle.
Yeah, that didn't take you
I
that
used
long
to
at
know
all.
that, but I forgot it.
Didn't take you long to figure that out at all.
Took me
No
about
worries. I mean, I learned that in kindergarten.
So you're
but,
not
you
really
know.
got any big mystery there.
No, I know. The point is that you are so fucking stupid you didn't know the answer. Better charge for $2 New Zealand. Someone tell the Earth to slow down. I'm sick. Yes, I don't want to live on this planet anymore, seriously. Do Queen Shizza GB, £2.99. Plane is still in the atmosphere. Bloody hell. Laughy face emoji. Rocket Scientist, $5 Wayne, light has no mass, you idiot wrapped in a moron. Arrow for €5. This is insane. Every flirfer, when they learn basic stuff about reality, let them alone. They'll be so depressed in the real world. Bubble Burster for $5. This man is too old to be so unwise and unable to comprehend such rudimentary concepts of science. Valorous for $5. Wayne, if no one can detect the electromagnetism, how do you know it's electromagnetism? He doesn't. He's just guessing at everything. John Rapp for $2. I have to say, this guy's brunkle. I'm a bad boy. Team. Pitamus Prime for $2 This is why Flerfs, they don't listen. GTF Overland Adventures,
This is
$4.99.
funny. You know what you guys are doing?
It's hilarious. Classic
You're
Flerf
patting
defense
yourselves on the
posture,
back after
lean back in
pooping
chair,
yourselves.
hands behind
This
heads.
is normal Globetard behavior.
Yeah,
We're reading the
Pat,
fan
poop,
chats.
poop.
I mean,
says the guy who didn't
they
know.
Yeah,
donated money, that's why
you
they got
can
red.
tell it's a bunch of
Bubble
Globetards.
Burster for $2. Pendulums swing at different speeds based on latitude. I know, he doesn't get that. I mean, he completely ignored the
How do you get
point
through the
of that
pen?
you can calculate your latitude based on the drift of the pendulum. I mean, he just completely ignored that and went, the pendulum should swing with the Earth. Paul Reap for $2. My brain hurts. Better charge for $5 New Zealand. Turn this to a drinking game. Every time 800 miles per hour is said, damn, you'll be hammered and dead. I don't want to be responsible for lots of
We're going to
deaths.
run out.
Stilix 666 for £2. £2 for the person who spoke the truth. Thank you. Another new member, Johan Roderick. Welcome to the Scrappers. Please, everyone, welcome him with the custom emojis. And Dave from Colorado.
Hey, you guys
$2.
have a good night. My son wants me to go to the store, and I think we're done.
Cool. Good night, Brunkle.
That was fun.
Was.
You guys keep patting yourselves on the back.
Yeah, cool. You go and figure out what the internal angles of an equilateral triangle and what 5 divided by 0 are. We'll wait. Dave from
Well, I
Colorado
gave
for
you that. There's a
$2.
60 degrees each
Yeah,
on the inside
it only
corners.
took you 10 minutes to
We
figure
all
it
have
out.
about 5 seconds of typing.
Did you just say
You
that
know,
triangles have corners?
Not a big mystery.
What? Sorry, did you just say that triangles have corners?
No, I said it's 60 degrees at each corner, each triangle edge, corner, whatever.
Brilliant. Thank you, Bronson.
Side.
Dave from
Each
Colorado
side.
for $2.
Well, anyway,
Presuppose you're
see you guys
flying in
later.
the... Thank you for being a dumbass. That was fun. Presuppose you're flying in the 800 miles an hour air. Dave from Colorado, thank you very much. Well, Brainy Beaver, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. I was keeping it together. I did better than I've done in the past. I think I'm getting better at this moderating thing. I think in the past I've had to bite my tongue a little harder, but I did okay. I had to jump in on the motion thing because I was like, oh, fuck, he's just not getting it. And I was just kind of sick of hearing it.
I mean, I don't know. He just wanted to go around in circles and not understand that the plane is in the atmosphere and everything it's doing is relative to the fact that the Earth is rotating and it's rotating with the Earth. So if it's going 400 miles an hour in one direction and then changing direction, it's still doing that within the reference frame of the Earth turning. It's really not that hard to understand. I think that guy needs to shave because maybe all the hair has got into his brain or something, and I don't know. But yeah, 3 for 3 with the litmus questions. That was amazing. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was, I enjoyed giving him the fighter jet thing. He definitely didn't have a response to me, which kind of gave me a ding-ding on the win at the end of my sentence, because it was like, he just sat there and you could see him think for a second. He's like, that fucking made some sense. And it was like, but then he but then he reverted back into not really, but like 800 miles an hour. It's like, hold on a second ago, we were going the same speed as that dickhead on the highway. You had it for a second. You just let it slip away, bro. Right now he's just like sitting there shaking his head at the screen going, you fucking assholes are the wrong ones.
Yeah. He's going to do the typical Flerf thing, though, of run back to his Facebook group, which is called, like, guys, if you're on Facebook, go and join Do You Even Science, bro. And, yeah, tell these idiots how dumb Wayne was. Before we go, I do have a little announcement to make. A subscriber of mine from Australia is going to be doing a charity stream. When did he say he's doing it? Saturday the 11th of January, 11 a.m. And it's to help the victims of the bushfires in Australia. I'm going to post the link to his Twitch channel in the chat, and I would very much appreciate it if everyone would go and give him a follow on Twitch. And if you feel like it, when he does the live stream on the 11th of January, please help out with anything you can. Obviously, pretty much half of Australia is on fire at the moment, and it's not really being handled very well. So, you know, any help that can be given to the victims of, you know, the terrible things that are happening in Australia at the moment would be amazing. His name is Urub Adahorn, I think. But the link to his Twitch channel is in the chat. So if anyone wants to go and check him out, give him a follow, and help out the victims of the bushfires in Australia, I would personally appreciate it. And I'm sure he would as well. So, yeah, that's what I want to say about that.
And I was catching a little bit of heat for the copyright music I played. So fair enough, because not my channel. That was like 3 seconds. So, I mean, you'd be more than fine, I'm sure. But if you do, you know, I apologize. So no, I was catching a little shit in the live chat there. So
I don't think
that's fair.
That's
fair though. It's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, they took away the ability of if you manually claim under 9 seconds now, they don't even allow you to claim monetary gain off of it. They only allow you to block the content. So once they did that, claims under 9 seconds have dropped to almost nothing, apparently.
Yeah.
So whatever. But at the same time, hey, that's fair. And I mean, truth be told, that's fair. I mean, what do you say? What do I say to that? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, not my channel. You're right.
Geistview has just made a lovely comment. I wonder how a person on a Concorde can walk down the aisle, then turn left to sit in the window seat. In Wayne's logic, you can't. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I did see someone there. Mr. Matt says, FTFE, you're delusional. Cool, if you say so. That I think we're going to shut it down for tonight because it is actually 10 to 5 in the morning for me, and my kids get up in about 2.5 hours to go to school. They are back at school now, so holidays are officially finished. I'll be cracking on with the videos. I have 2 videos in production at the moment. One with Mr. Brainy Beaver himself, where we are covering the lovely, lovely person known as Nathan Oakley. Such a charming fellow.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Isn't he just a
he's
nice
a fun guy. In fact, if you keep that thing green, I'm going to be devastatedly impressed. Although that said, I think okay. So I complained to them about my join, not about everybody around me having a join button and me apparently not being worthy. And I got a I got a human response, but a fairly cookie cutter human response. So, and I think it was like 3 in the morning, and I kind of I was a little pissed off. It was still a nice email, but I was like, with between this and then I said, you basically yellow every single video or live stream I do, and I win every single review, and yet I still have to request a review every time. Yeah. There's no trust in your system for me at all. Even though I passed 99% of the reviews. Hey, and then I bitched about that. Well, guess what? Everything I posted's been green since then.
This stream is already demonetized, so I'm going to have to request a review on that.
I stayed monetized yesterday. That's ridiculous. I don't even know what. And then the one with my wife was apparently still monetizable.
I'm not kidding you, Brainy. Every single thing I post gets demonetized, and I have to request a review for it. Every single thing.
I want to be part of the new system. You heard the new system before we go that they're going to be adding there's going to be, especially for people like us who are right in the yellow, that I guess there's that new system where we're going to do self-certification. So the idea is that you. It's kind of a bitch, but I guess you upload a video, you fill out a whole bunch of checkbox, does it have swearing, how much of it, you in the first few minutes, no, you fill out all these little checkboxes, and you basically submit that with your video, and you're telling the AI that this is what is in my video, and what it does is it starts building trust with you, and if you are a trustworthy person and it can rely on. Well, but this is what this is about, is retraining. I think that's what this is about, is retraining the AI to give trust to people that are worthy of being trusted. Because, if you fill it out honestly and say, yeah, no, there's no harsh swears in the first few minutes, and there's no guns, there's no violence, that fits this category, because it's fairly descriptive, apparently, then you fill it out like that, and then you submit it. And if it does yellow it, it actually gives you a timestamp now, which is what it does not do to us. You know that. It actually gives you ask Unirock. Unirock has that right now. It gives him a timestamp of where it doesn't exactly tell him why. It just gives him a timestamp of exactly where it triggered. So he's able to go to that part of the video and use some intuition to figure out what triggered the AI to make him yellow. And then he can try to make corrections to his content to try to make it so it's not doing that.
Yeah.
And why do you think he says poopy scoops, or he calls them big ninny poos or something like that when he doesn't swear anymore? He's been desperately trying to get that green to show up.
Now, see, it's playing a fine line between the not being for kids and not being too, that bad now, I think. So, just so I'm not for kids, cunt, whore, slag, bitch, fucker.
Bitch.
There we go.
Tits.
Yeah. Definitely not for kids, but also YouTube, please don't demonetize me. But guys, oh yeah, I've also got another video in production, which is my anti-vaxxer video for the 4th episode of Stupid Humans that the wonderful Planner Walk is helping me with. Guys, if you could please make sure you subscribe to my moderator tonight, Brainy Beaver. Also check out my other channel with Team Skeptic and Sean Hufford called Science or Satire. And also, if you do feel like it, I now have a join button for members. Please become a member and help support the channel if you feel like it. But we're going to leave that there for tonight, guys, because my kids are up in about 2.5 hours. I had fun destroying that Flerf. I guess you can't teach.
I even got to throw a hat in there.
I know. You can explain stuff till you're blue in the face, but you can't understand it for them. And unfortunately, Wayne appears to be one of the people that will never understand what is going on. Phil Hammer, I'm actually going to talk about that more in a video coming up, so do not worry. But guys, that is it for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for the super chats and the support. It means the world. Remember, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flatter. Fight the flat. 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 Fight the flat.
That was fun.